Crying out loud. Okay, we are actually live this time. To take Lindsay is what I call myself because I can't do anything the first time around. I thought we were live about 5 minutes ago, but we're now live. Welcome. We're with Robert Whitley tonight, who's a 26-year-old diesel tech, and he's had a number of very interesting jobs in different shops around the country over the past few years, and he's settled back down in Central Texas now. We're also going to be joined by Cass Nichols, who'll be moderating for us. And I thought it'd be a great night to talk about shop culture, what it's like to work in a professional shop, and how the culture of a shop affects everything from how you get along with your colleagues to the things that you do, the decisions that you make career-wise, right down to the tool buying decisions you make. So let's bring on Robert and Cass. Hey, fellas, how are you?
Hello. Good.
What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Good. Thanks
Robert,
for being on
long
tonight,
time no
guys. I
see.
appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Long time to see.
Well, Robert and Cass work together. Well, on your regular day jobs and at your fit shop job. So they get a lot of each other during the course of a day.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. It sucks.
Well, we got a lot of folks joining on the chat. That's great to see. So everyone just weigh in with your comments and your questions as we discuss topics that we've got lined up. So thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a ton of fun. I've been looking forward to this all week long.
We just have to wait for all of Ed's 13 members to come over here after his giveaway.
Oh, that's right. They'll pop over in a few.
Maybe it's more. I don't know. 14, 15? I'm not sure.
Maybe. Oh, we got all kinds of cool people in the chat. Oh, Big Papa Larry Basie's here. Nice to see you, Larry. Glad he's been watching more and more of the channel lately. Tool Guy Ty's here. Turbo Ty, Chris Ashtis, Bocce, Ian Lloyd, Fives is here. Man, we got an all-star cast. And Jonathan Sherwood, of course. Good to see everyone. Thank you so much for logging in.
Hi, Bocce is a fellow resident of the state, Lindsay.
Yes, she is. That's right.
She lives in the area.
Yep. And Joe Shearer just joined. Anthony GM85's here. This will be a good night.
Anthony is a member of Tech Talking Shop like me, but unlike me, Anthony posts videos. I don't.
Big Papa's on lunch right now, so we can watch this. Wow. Thank you so much. I'm honored that you would carve out the time to watch this.
So,
do it on your own time instead of getting paid to do it.
So, Big Papa?
Yeah, he's a really good customer that works for one of the refuse companies that I service.
Nice.
I just saw him yesterday. He said he was going to be on here to make fun of me. All right, let's kick it off.
Tools or anything?
No, not yet. They're thinking about it. All right, so let's kick this off with asking Robert some questions and having a conversation. Start with stuff surrounding shop culture and what defines it. So, Robert, what is the single biggest thing that defines a particular shop's work culture?
I think that two things: honesty and integrity. Just to make it simple, I think that's the biggest thing. It goes a long way in several different aspects. So that's my opinion.
And how does that affect, you and other people if that's lacking in a particular shop?
Well, Cass and I, we work in a smaller town. Everyone kind of knows each other. And, anytime you have to be honest with people. You have to have integrity in not only how you work on someone's car, but how you take care of that customer, how you handle issues if, you make a mistake and a truck comes back or a car comes back, how mistakes are handled and kind of just what kind of character you are, how you handle everything makes a big, big difference. If you like where you work, you need to make sure that you agree with, whatever the shop owner does, whatever the service writer does. So that's taking a minute to think about the best, what defines shop culture. And I think that integrity is by far the biggest one. So
because God knows there's so many different kinds of people and the different levels of integrity that they do or don't have in their own particular moral compass certainly changes from time to time. And that can certainly be the cause of conflict in a shop. So when stuff like that happens, especially if it's from somebody who, everyone in the shop's important, but when you have a guy like the service writer, for example, who's in charge of doling out the work or whoever the foreman is or the owner for that matter, How does that kind of thing affect not just the day to day, but also like the long term decisions that you make, whether or not you want to stay there, whether or not it's, can you work within that? Do you have to make changes yourself to accommodate, other people's personalities and such?
Yeah. Well, like I'm pretty passionate about what I do. And a lot of our customers are very passionate about their cars. In most cases, the vehicles we work on aren't just how people get to work. It is their work. It's how they make their money. It's how they keep the world turning. So I always try to show the same kind of respect for the vehicle, as they have for it. If I can, when I can, I always try to do the best I can. And whenever you work with other people or a service writer that just doesn't share that same passion, it makes things kind of difficult. Obviously, I'm not perfect. The way I think stuff should be handled may not be ideal at times, but it's there's obviously many ways to run an automotive shop, but integrity, just being straightforward with people, being honest with people. Obviously, when a mistake happens, every shop's, I'm sure, guilty of times fixing it and charging the customer, though it was probably an issue with the technician, whatever the case. But it's things like that and sometimes it gets hard, whenever you have an issue come up and say it was your fault, and then service writer, the shop owner, looks at it a different way. They know it's your fault, but they want to stick it on the customer, stuff like that. It can be rough. So,
and it might take a while too to have personalities match, especially if you're bringing in new people in the shop or if you're new to a shop. So
yeah.
how do changes within the shop, as far as new personalities coming in or people changing positions within the shop or someone who comes, from outside the industry into the shop, that's certainly also going to change the culture and the dynamic in there.
Yeah, definitely. We have people obviously come into the shop that don't work for us, maybe a customer and stuff like that. That's always interesting to see how they obviously at our particular shop that we work at, people can be pretty rowdy at times. So interacting with everybody, likely where we work now, everyone gets along for the most part. It's really important, your coworkers, their attitude and how they act and how they handle situations. And I think it's important to develop a relationship where you can kind of predict how a coworker is going to act or respond to a situation. You can always, all you can do is hope for the best. But I know for sure we got a couple tool throwers we work with, and when to stay away. And I spooked someone one day that turned around to throw a wrench right as I was coming up to ask a question, and I missed it by inches. So, shop culture, it's not just about obviously integrity and honesty, but, sometimes everyone will stop working to mess around, go look at it. If we have one massive issue come into the shop, it'll attract everyone's attention, get everyone over to make fun of the customer and stuff. Obviously, customers don't know about that half the time, but it happens in every shop. If you don't think it happens, hopefully it's just not your car. Hopefully you're not one of those people with a car with, brake rotor worn down through to the cooling fins. So.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the wrench thrower type, because I know that there's, I know a few, and a lot of times that adds tension to the shop, or people are just afraid to say the wrong thing, or I knew one guy, he actually would do it in front of a customer, and that didn't bode well for him. So it's such a challenge to juggle all the different personality types and try to fit in yourself. Where you're a younger guy in the industry, what kind of challenges do you face in, when you've gotten new jobs and new shops, and what's your approach when you're faced with all the different personality types?
So the hardest thing, first off, with me is just, people often try to judge age. They try to compare age to skill, and can't do that. I've been doing this a long time, comparatively to my age. It's kind of a fine line when you go into a new shop. You don't want to be real cocky. You don't want to ruffle any feathers, but at the same time, it's like you need to make sure people know that you're not here to mess around. So that's always been kind of a challenge. most of the time, I think it's pretty standard, but you get those older techs that are kind of like the A techs or the master techs, and here comes this new guy. Age out of it, regardless of age, the new guy always has to be careful. You first impressions are a big deal, but for me, when I've been a new guy at a shop, I just kind of do the best I can, kind of experiment with the coworkers, meaning, for example, you find out you have a wrench thrower there. Well, it doesn't mean that he's going to throw a wrench at you. He may throw a wrench, turn around, and have a totally normal conversation with you. But trying to learn other personalities of everyone else around you, sometimes challenging, but you kind of tiptoe around a little bit to kind of get a feel for people and how they're going to act.
Have you noticed a big difference, like with different parts of the country, when you went to Ohio for a while versus the people in Texas? And do you notice any like geographical, cultural differences there?
Well, it's a little hard for me to compare because when I went to Ohio, I went to go work for a fleet, basically a transportation company, and I was working on just that fleet of trucks. So the way things are done versus how they're done in a world like I work now, where you're working on something different every day, different customer, different person, different line of work. Fleet's a little different, definitely whenever owner may not be someone who wants to spend a bunch of money on his own trucks, vice versa, so that it's kind of hard to compare, but Ohio is a different economy. A lot of it was really different. Nothing bad, nothing against it, but it was definitely different. I didn't like the weather. Not that it's fun for me.
Well, having lived up in the Northeast, I don't blame you. Yeah. Well, let's go back and look at some of the comments and get caught up with what's going on in the chat. Cass, have you spotted anything particularly interesting?
Yeah, let's go to Mark's comment. Let's talk to Mark real quick. I don't know how to highlight the comment on the screen. I don't know if I can or can't.
Can you select it? Does it pop up when you do that?
Mm-mm. But I don't know if I have to hit like share or
I don't know.
Here, let
me see if when I hit share what happens.
Where was his comment? I saw his comment scroll past too. I thought it was interesting. This one
share
here.
Slide.
Yep. So Mark from Mid-Atlantic Tools asks,
be a good one.
How do you like to handle that customer who likes to watch you repair their car or truck?
I'm going to say it depends on the situation. We have a few customers that just kind of invite themselves in the shop, and the owner or the past technicians have kind of welcomed it and created this environment where those customers, when they show up, they're going to hang out in the shop. And most of them aren't too bad to deal with. But, whenever I get pulled off of like a big job to go do something medial and then have a customer stand over my back, I'm, not in the best mood going into that situation. Definitely when things aren't going right, you have a customer trying to tell you how to do the job. That's the one thing that'll probably upset any of us is someone brings a truck to you to work on and then they want to tell you how to do it. So usually how I handle it, I go to the service writer and say, get him out of the shop before I do.
Does it bother you to just on principle to have somebody watching what you're doing? Do you feel weird about that, or are you confident enough?
Not usually. Usually I don't mind it at all. Just like I said, there's been a few cases where they should probably just go sit in the office and wait. But I always like to deal with the customers when I can. Definitely, I do a lot of electrical diagnostics, so a lot of the stuff that I have to tell customers, they wouldn't believe it unless they saw it. So a lot of times I go up in the office and say, hey, so and so. If you want to come back to the back, I'll show you your car, show you what I found. It's just so much easier to let people put their eyes on. I'm pretty good with people. I kind of know, how to talk to them depending on who they are. Some people you can talk to them just like you're talking to another technician, but some people you kind of have to dial it back, speak in terms we can all understand. So being able to understand that helps out a lot. Now I've worked with a lot of mechanics that don't want to talk to customers, don't want to call customers, don't want to see them in the shop. I get that. There's a lot of liability involved too. So I think generally you don't want people watching you work. So, but it's not the worst thing for me.
I mean, that kind of reminds me of, in my previous career, how many people in the IT field did not want to actually deal with customers directly. And that always surprised me because it's a service oriented business. It all is. Like every industry is service oriented, whether they know it or not. And
Right.
do you enjoy talking to customers, as much as you enjoy doing the work itself, or is that just something that you see as being, just another aspect to the job that you gotta handle?
To me, it's just another aspect. It's just something I've naturally been good at talking. Sadly, I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It can get you into a lot of trouble. I have found myself handling a lot of conflict resolution at the shop. Whenever you have sometimes the shop owner's not the best with his words. Sometimes that customer's not the best with their words. I've had to hop in before and kind of more or less calm everything down. And at the end of the day, we're here for a job. You can always, okay, your car is still broken. Let's get in the shop, figure out what's going on. We can't sit here and point fingers all day. We can't sit here and guess. Let's get it back in the shop, see what went wrong, and then we can discuss a solution. That right there is the simplest way to calm people down. Is just cut to the chase. Stuff like that. So yeah, I don't mind talking to customers. I don't enjoy it obviously as much as turning a wrench. But to me, it's like part of the job. I think that being good with the car and with the customer is a bonus for sure.
Anthony GM85 says that you're spot on. He says that they have a guy, and he's arrogant, he's cocky, he acts like he really knows what's going on in the shop, but he's failed a few tests already. The future of a guy like that, what do you think? Can he change? Kind of limited? What have you seen in people's ability to either adapt to their environment or not?
Well, so I think that I was probably at one point someone could have said the same thing about me when I started. I'm not sure if they did, but I could see it. So I think you can always change, but I think the biggest thing for a new guy, it doesn't matter how good you are, how good you think you are, what the facts are. Confidence and cockiness that's two different things. If you're really confident, just get out there, get it done. Results will show themselves. So, but it is really hard to change that impression. Once you make an impression like that lasts, it's really, really difficult. So I don't think there's any space for a ton of cockiness, unless it's out of just like a joking manner, which, once you have mechanics and coworkers you've worked with long enough, you get more cockiness in a joking manner than a serious manner. So. No.
Lindsay, you're on mute.
I muted myself. I'm sorry. So, how have you found that the culture of a particular shop affects, say, tool buying decisions? Because you might see a prevalence of one brand. You might see people gravitating toward one particular tool truck, or if they don't buy in the tool trucks, to some other way of buying their tools. And do you see that as being something that affects the rest of the shop if it's done from, like, let's say, like every shop has an alpha dog, and let's say that guy's particularly interested in buying a particular brand or getting a particular tool truck or whatever it is. Does that kind of permeate the rest of the culture in a shop too, you think?
I think that's definitely an aspect to it. I think in general, whoever the older or master tech is can definitely sway the decision and create mirrored images with the younger guys for sure. I've seen it many times, where you get these new guys and they're fresh in a shop and they want to be just like so-and-so, which can be good or bad. Just depends on who the alpha is. But as far as tools go, I think the biggest thing, we can discuss brands, but buying tools is another big one. Just buying tools in general. I've worked with guys that, why would I buy tools when I can just walk over to Robert's Box and borrow? That's fine. I don't mind people borrowing my tools as long as they respect them. They need to respect them as much or more than I do. That's all I ask. And put them back when you're done. But there's also a point where it's like, okay, well, you've been in this career for a long time. If you're really, if this is what you want to do, you should start investing in it. Not everyone has the luxury of spending what I have spent in the past on tools, but definitely have to create a budget, and get some tools. As far as brands go, I think, it's real interesting because for me, growing up when I first got into this, Snap-on was all we had out here. So yeah, I became like a pretty hard Snap-on fanboy. In fact, when Lindsay came around, I was like, who's this guy? What's he doing? Had my doubts, but Lindsay grew on me, and obviously I started to kind of realize what different tools were out there. Now we have 3 tool trucks every week. Is that right? Cass, is that right? 3, 4, 3. We have 3 tool trucks every week, and did have 4. They have 5, but 2 of them didn't make it. I'm at the point now where I kind of do some research on my tools, and a lot of people have their favorite tool. Well, that tool they're holding may not be made by the person who's branding that tool. That's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I worked for years buying Snap-on stuff that I could have been getting much cheaper elsewhere. So, yeah, brands are kind of a big deal. I tell people now, I tell the new guys, like, hey, you don't necessarily need to buy Snap-on wrenches as your first wrench set. But you also don't want to go buy the Chinese wrenches either. But there's definitely some middle ground stuff. And I try to help the younger techs. I think that's a big thing is help them with their tool buying decisions so they don't do what I did, which was just I have a really good tool selection for where I'm at, but I could have done it in a more cost-effective manner, I believe. So, yeah.
Well, as I see the same thing with younger guys in particular, who they might get kind of wary about when I pull into a shop, for example, because I don't have, the Snap-on or the Mako name on the side of the truck, and they're not so sure about the stuff that I'm selling. And a lot of those guys it takes a while sometimes to warm up to the new guys because they may go in with some preconceived notion, with some preconceived brand in mind. And a lot of them do. And certainly Snap-on has the biggest reputation of all. So
yeah.
In an effort for people to kind of fit in, especially when they're newer and younger, certainly they can spend a lot more money than they could otherwise, like you were saying. And, it's, have you been in a lot of shops where there are guys that try to instill that on them, or is it kind of just like every man for himself sort of environment?
I mean, I can tell you, this newer guy that we work with now, great guy, but it's his first time in the trade. And I think he really wants to be like the people he works with. We also are guilty of pressuring people into buying stuff occasionally. I'm very guilty of it because I'm always pressuring people, not only to support the local tool dealers, but to also keep you out of my toolbox. So
that sounds fair.
I mean, like you said, Snap-on is kind of a big name, and I think that logo is just everyone wants it in their box, regardless of the facts for whatever reason. That's just a big one people want. At least where we're at, because like I said, Snap-on's been the predominant dealer for years and years. But with the newer guys, I like I said, I hound them to try to, wise up a little bit, take your time buying stuff. Just because someone else has the whatever set of pliers doesn't mean you need to have it right now. Luckily, when I kind of started, I had a little bit of guidance from people like, hey, I've had this brand, and this brand, and this is the one that you should invest in here, in my opinion, and here's why. And it's good to have those, opinions from people and kind of take knowledge from people that have already been there, done that. So there's many tools that I bought that I kind of regret buying. So.
Well, let's get back to some of the comments to make sure we get caught up. Ian Lloyd said that here in South California, we got a bunch of half-assed, lazy people that don't care about the job. And from a customer's perspective, that's where his biggest problem is. And that's got to be, that's got to, man, that just must wear you down if you're working with those kinds of people.
Oh, yeah, sure does. It's whenever you have a real high, passion or just quality of work, you're trying to achieve so much, and you see somebody that's, either not test driving a car or not doing an adequate test drive, or someone who's got a comeback all the time. So they got a vehicle back in the shop yet again. It's really hard to to continue at that place. Whenever you have something like that going on, you kind of, it's not that you lose motivation necessarily. It's like you start to realize like this is probably not the place for me because you don't want to be associated with that kind of stuff. And that's where it's on the shop owner or the shop foreman or whoever kind of runs the day to day to hop in and make sure that everyone is doing the best that they can and just representing the shop in a good manner. I've seen people talk to customers. We talked about it earlier as far as talking to customers. I've seen mechanics that have no business talking to a customer or being in the same room with them. It can be embarrassing at times. And that's kind of the same thing, as far as quality of work and stuff like that. It's definitely rough. I feel for that whenever you're doing the best you can and the guy next to you is not doing the same. It's rough. It's a hard spot to be.
Now, what advice? I'll read through the comments here, and I see one from NASA. It says, "A mechanic without tools is worthless." Sometimes I get depressed about that fact because he said earlier that he needs some tools big time. What advice for you and Cass? What advice would you give to a fellow like this who, is needing tools and doesn't have all the ones that he wants and is still trying to build that collection?
Yeah, if you go ahead first on it.
Well, I mean, you just have to work hard for it. I mean, like Robert and I, we didn't get anything given to us. I mean, I started off with nothing. I had to build up from nothing. It took a long time. You just can't want what the top guy in the shop's got or whoever has the most tools in the shop. You just can't look at their box and go, I want that like right this second. I mean, like you have to have the desire to go and get it. But, as far as, starting off like, hey, you need to go just like buy everything you can. Don't do that. That's bad. And Robert kind of touched on that with the new guy in the shop. He gets on the Snap-on truck and he's got the chrome crack eyes. He's totally hooked on it. And so you got to try to reel him back in. You're like, hey, don't do this. Don't buy this. He's like, but buy it once. I'm like, no, don't buy this. You don't need that. And so you got to kind of talk him back from that. So that's kind of my thing. A good shop will always take care of you, though. They'll always make sure you need the tools to do the job if you're a new guy coming in. And if they don't, then you need to go find another shop to work at, my opinion.
Yeah. Right now, the world we live in, it's really hard to find mechanics. It's hard to find people that are even just trying to be a mechanic. So I think right now, shops are very forgiving on you apply for a job in a mechanic shop, one thing that they're not going to hound you too much about is the tools you have. I've never had anyone ask what tools I have, or, how big's your toolbox, never. Until I roll in there on my first day with my box, nobody has a clue. That's not initially, when you go to apply to a job, they're going to wonder what you have, how much you got. Never had that problem personally. But like I said, right now, kind of like what Kat said, shops should have tools to help you out. And obviously, for the most part, mechanics should be loaning tools to an extent, definitely to a new guy trying to get into it, as long as you show an interest in buying tools. But when you have a guy that borrows and admittedly doesn't want to spend money on tools, it gets hard to let them in your toolbox. So I'm not here to finance his career as well. So that's my advice.
But there are plenty of guys out there who will skate as long as they possibly can without buying tools themselves. And I've seen shops where they get really frustrated with those guys. They don't usually last very long because they're not willing to make the investment in their own careers, which you would hope to see if somebody's interested in doing a good job and growing. Do guys like that tend to last long from your experience if they're just not into doing that, if they want to skate, or do you really kind of try to influence as best you can to look, man, you got to start buying stuff and, regardless of where you buy it from, here's the things you're going to start needing.
I've had good luck with, as far as other techs go, as far as buying tools and kind of understanding things happen. I've actually seen the issue more so with like mid-range techs for a few years where they dial back from buying tools. I find really strange. And it's not crazy to expect you to continue buying tools. I think from what I've heard, all even senior techs they still have tool bills. They're still buying tools. There's always something new. There's always some specialty tool you need. Brand doesn't matter. quality kind of matters. Buy good tools. Nobody cares what you buy. From what I've seen, the young guys all want to buy the name brand stuff right away. But we haven't had anyone get fired for tool-related stuff, other than a guy that used the tool the wrong way and hurt himself, really. Not why he got fired, but that was the start of it. That's another topic for another night.
Well, Sammy Salinas says, I'm a Snap-on guy for life. It's too bad he doesn't have a Snap-on guy. Sammy Snap-on guy went out of business a few weeks ago. It's okay, Sam. I got you covered, buddy.
Yeah, he's got a Coyle tool. Lindsay, you're like everybody's Snap-on, Cornwell, Matco, Mac guy.
Oh man, every town needs a Lindsay Coyle. That's all I can say.
Sammy, do you recognize this? This is the strap portion. Ooh, sorry, I'm smacking my microphone. That's the strap portion of a strap filter wrench that Sammy tried to get warranty from his Snap-on dealer and had a hard time doing it. So he goes out of business, and I was like, I got you covered. So I gave him a 2-for deal to replace a strap wrench with another brand. I'm getting that one taken care of under warranty. So do what you got to do. All right, let me ask you this. Do you guys agree or disagree? And certainly everyone in the comments, please weigh in on this one. Do you agree or disagree with this statement regarding tools? If you want to be the best, you have to buy the best. Robert, what do you think?
I disagree. I disagree right away. I mean, tools are a key part of what we do, how we make our money. But I've worked with a lot of guys with nice tools and no brain. They didn't do too good.
Cass, how about you? Yeah. Tools shouldn't be the number one thing you invest in whenever you work on cars. It should be, improving as a technician. If you're not constantly trying to improve and invest in your skill, then, it doesn't matter what tools. I mean, I could take, the cheapest tool out there. If I know what I'm doing, I'm going to be fine with it. It may not be preferred, but it's not, a necessity. So
Cass and I have been on site, like in the 110-degree sun, using some tools that you can't pronounce the brand on them. We have done some amazing things with them.
Look, so I'll give you a little insight. So one night we went and bought like a $35 set of wrenches from O'Reilly's to make $500.
That's true story.
That was where we were at. We didn't have wrenches. We were over here trying to, get this tractor up and going. And I'm like, crap, because it was like a last minute deal. And so we're like, well, let's go over to O'Reilly's. We'll get a fuel filter and some wrenches, and we'll be in business. And the guy's like, we made some good money on that deal. So
no, we basically were out in town and get a call like, hey, my tractor broke down with a piano in it. So we had wrenches, just not with us. So we weren't going into, we didn't think we were going on a service call that night.
Well, looks like everyone pretty much agrees. Ian Lloyd says BS. For instance, Jimmy says nope. Justin Smith says false. And Jay Stoff, who I know because he's one of my customers who works with Big Papa, says not true. Big Papa has Snap-on and he sucks. Ouch. It's only good.
What part of town do they work in?
They're up in Pflugerville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Power Stroke Jude has a very interesting philosophy here. He said, I had a complete 500-piece Craftsman set and slowly replaced tools with higher quality. I'd mix in specialty tools along the way. Almost 30 years worth of buying tools, and I'm still buying tools. But There's a really good pathway to anyone who's just starting out. You buy those master sets, you can at least start turning wrenches right away. And then, if you want to upgrade or get something that suits you better, it buys you.
All started with something like that.
Yeah, that's how I started.
I mean, Robert started with the Home Depot set of tools. I remember that. When
Husky set. My grandpa bought me a Husky set. Yeah. And, man, I still have those Husky tools. They're just not in my primary toolbox, but I still use those tools. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. I slowly replaced with name brand tools until, and I never broke a Husky socket. Just got to say that. Not once.
Oh, it's going to happen tomorrow for sure.
Okay. But the point is, it's all great if you got a roll cart with a pair of pliers and a full set of Snap-on wrenches, and that's all you got. Well, for that money, you could have had 500-piece set of tools to start with from, Lowe's, Home Depot, or whatever, and gotten a lot farther overall. So,
No.
No, and Sammy
Yep.
Salinas says that I have a jumbo wrench from Harbor Freight still working to this day. I know a lot of guys that have got a long way off a lot of stuff from Harbor Freight. Their ratchets and sockets tend to be pretty good, and they tend to last a long time. And I don't know when they first got the reputation of selling bottom rung tools, but the fact is you can get some pretty good stuff at Harbor Freight.
well, I think a lot of that, when you know tools, eventually you kind of understand like what is and what isn't gonna break. That 2-inch Pittsburgh wrench, you're not gonna break that.
No.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's part of it, is kind of understanding there's certain tools you can get away with on a lower brand for sure.
And to
Yeah,
save
we just
yourself
bought some Harbor Freight tools for the fifth shop recently. So we
Good?
got the spool jacks.
The spool jack. Yeah, those. Yeah, we depend on those to keep us alive. Yep. Probably not the best purchase.
When lives count, Harbor Freight.
Y'all saw what we use those spool jacks for. We can't even share what we use those spool jacks for. Probably a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Well, we had to have them. Like, we couldn't wait.
Oh,
So we
yeah,
had to go to
for
Harbor
sure.
Freight.
Yeah.
It was like one of those deals where we're like, well, how fast can we get it shipped here? And it wasn't fast enough, so we went and got it done. But it was like one of those deals where I think the spool jacks cost us like a couple $100, but a couple $100 was holding up like several $1,000s, and it made it so much easier to do the job. I mean, that's not something that necessarily that we're going to use like directly, but it's helping us out because the car's not going to fall on us and kill us, or it's not going to fall and get damaged. So no, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but shoot, we did. This is one of those deals.
And like Robert said, as long as you know what you can get by with, and where saving money doesn't necessarily mean you're sacrificing quality.
Yeah, right. I mean, so here's the whole deal. Like the roll cart from Harbor Freight, great starter box for any new tech.
Great.
Right?
In fact, somebody earlier up in the comments said they got the 6 drawer. Great pickup. That's a fantastic buy.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't find a used Snap-on Mac, Mecco, Cornwell, whatever major name brand box cheaper than that, buy the Harbor Freight. That's going to get you where you need to go. All it's going to do is hold tools. That's all it's there. If security is an issue, then you need to find another shop. There's some pretty simple rules whenever you buy a toolbox. Like you lock your stuff up, yes, but if you're worried about box security, then you need to find another shop. It's not a you problem, it's a them problem. So, but that's a good thing. But if you're going to borrow my tools to make money because your tools suck, then you need to go and invest in you. That's kind of where I'm at. And Robert and I have had this conversation a lot, but I've never ever had to tell Robert like, hey, you need to go buy this tool, like ever.
Yeah, because
usually he borrows it once and then he buys it.
How it goes.
Or I'll let him be the guinea pig. I'll let Robert go out there and he'll buy something. I'll watch him use it. I'll use it a couple times, and I'm just kind of like.
Sorry, we have a coworker that when I buy,
works all over the place. I mean, everyone has that same issue. Someone's going to be the first to buy something. Someone else is going to borrow it and see if it works. And that's going to set the tone for that particular brand or that tool or whatever it is. And it's no secret to anybody, and especially from a tool guy's perspective. If I go in with some new product and somebody buys it, then the next week everyone else wants to buy that same tool because they all got a load of it and liked it or whatever it is, or no one else is buying it because the one guy who bought it wasn't happy with it. That word travels pretty fast, and people find out pretty quick.
Yep, definitely.
Well, let me ask you this. Building on what Turbo Tai said, he says that he disagrees with the statement that I made earlier about if you want the best, you got to buy the best. He worked with some great mechanics over the years that had a lot of low-budget tools. Now, let me ask you this, though, because there's got to be a fine line between being the guy that relies on, bargain rate tools and being really good and trying to gain the sort of, the credibility that you need, I guess would be what I'm trying to say. Like, I knew a guy, he's been a tech for years, and he said, just as a joke, he got a job and he walked in the first day with a 5-gallon bucket full of hand tools, right? Just as a joke, because he thought it'd be hilarious to start a job that way. He says, but he could do the job just fine with what he brought with him. But I'm thinking that's a dangerous game to play, isn't it? I mean, you might have to, right away, the boss is going to go, oh, we made a big mistake with this guy.
I mean, Scotty Kilmer's been doing it for years.
Oh. Has he, though?
I hate Scotty Kilmer.
I
don't say that about many people, but I hate Scotty Kilmer.
But that's got to be.
If he's watching your stream right now, sorry, Scotty, I don't like you at all.
I doubt he's watching.
Yeah, bringing a 5-gallon bucket of tools in, not a great idea. I wouldn't say, but risky move.
It's a risky move, but I also know a guy who said he got a job because when the guy who hired him, asked what he had for tools and stuff, he showed him a picture of his toolbox drawers and the tools he got, and the guy hired him from that picture alone. So it can go both ways, because neither's a guarantee about someone's skills and abilities, but it does lend some credibility if people know that you're willing to invest in your tools, because that really is your career and your future.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really beat people up for their tools by any means. Obviously, yeah, you can get the job done with basic stuff, but Cass talked about it a lot, but time is money. So sometimes spending more on tools can get you through a job faster and quicker in some cases, which in that case, yeah, it's just an investment that's worth every penny. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that also falls on the shop owner too, though. If you think about it, if you hire a guy to do a job, you have to know what level he's coming in to work, so you know what you should expect as the shop owner. And in the very few shops that I've worked in my life, I've never met a shop owner that wasn't willing to go out of his way and help out, or guys that work in the shop that aren't willing to go out of their way to help out. Every shop we've ever been in, it's always been, hey, I've got this old, tool here, or I've got this, like they always give to guys. But, you have to get to that break-in period first. It's not just something you get right away, but if a guy comes in there and he's got limited stuff, he's working out of a 5-gallon bucket, and he comes in there and all he does is work his butt off, then I'm going to do whatever I can to help him out, because I appreciate hard work. But as a shop owner, you got to look at that and you got to go like, what am I bringing this guy in? Is he just super entry level? Okay, if he is, then my expectation levels should not be that he rolls in and has every tool he needs to do the job. That is on the shop owner. So, that kind of, I think that hopefully that kind of, it's not being too contrarian, but it also helps answer some questions. So
it does, and it's such a kind of a nuanced thing there, and it's different for every individual that's involved. I mean, Anthony says that he worked out of a 5-gallon bucket with Craftsman, and Craftsman tote for years, and that's something that not everyone can do. Maybe the culture in the shop doesn't support that kind of thing. Maybe people are just like, man, you gotta upgrade your tools and you gotta buy this expensive stuff that I bought, and but meanwhile, the work, as Turbo Tai says, he says the work has to speak for them. It does, and you got to give the guy the chance, I think. But you guys would know certainly better than I do. It's pretty easy to make a first impression. We all do it. You just want to make sure that you're not unduly harsh in your judgment of somebody before he has a chance to prove himself.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been guilty of that. I promise you. I mean, even recently with the new guy that came into the shop, it was like one of those, who's this guy? And then all I did was just go in there and he worked his butt off and tried as hard as he could. And, I think everybody's enjoyed having him around. Does he need to be doing everything they have him doing right now? No, but that's on the shop. That's not on him. But at least he's trying.
And Howie Z says sometimes you have to foster good techs, build them up. How difficult do you guys find that when you're in a position where you're flagging hours, and every minute that you spend away from your own work means that's not money in your pocket? how difficult does that make not only your job but the industry in general when it really is kind of geared toward an every man for himself sort of environment, in a flag shop?
Can't be.
Our shop, not like we don't likely we don't have that issue. We if you are a flag guy and you got to invest some time in other people. Definitely, like in our case where we work, we have a lot of technicians, but only a few of them are really like highly skilled, top tier techs that can work on anything that comes through the door, more or less. So, like, we're real weak on electrical diagnostics. Like, Cass and I are the two that do that. Well, these days, electrical diagnostics is a common thing. We see it all the time. So, when someone wants to learn that, I will stop and teach them anytime they have an issue. Oh, your AC is not working, and try to recharge the system, and it's still not cooling. Compressor's not kicking on. Well, let's go. Here's how I check it out. And this new guy that we have that Cass and I have mentioned, he is still ready to learn. He will take a notebook and stand over your shoulder and write down everything you say. I mean, he is that good. And when you see that out of somebody, you can't shoot him down. I mean, it's so rare to see somebody that passionate and wanting to learn. That's when you got to step up and teach. I think that's the right thing to do, whether you're hourly or flagging hours. I don't think it matters. If you really care about this career and you want to make it easier for you as you go, having good help below you, can't go wrong with it.
Well, especially when they show that level of interest. I mean, how often does that happen?
It doesn't.
Well,
right.
I'll say this, and I'll tell you from experience, if you're more concerned with how many hours are going to be on your paycheck, then you're always going to struggle with hours on your paycheck. And what I mean by that is you're more concerned with flagging hours and not helping out, when the overall goal of the shop is to improve and get better. I mean, it can't be every man for himself. That's not a team. That's not how a team functions. And when you have more than one person working in a shop, you're a team. You have to work with that person. I mean, it's every aspect of teamwork, and if you have that every man is for himself, then you're never going to make any more money, because you're going to be limited by what you can do by yourself, because nobody's ever going to help you. Right. And then if they do give you help, they're going to give you just the basic amount of help. You're never going to get that. But the other thing is it always seems to work out that way. Like, I worked with a guy who was more concerned with how many hours he was going to make that week than he was getting the job done properly. And I'm like, I told him, I go, man, you just have to stop worrying about the time. It will come to you. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, when you're not worried about I got to get this extra hour. I got to get this extra hour. When you stop doing that, the money just comes to you. It's like, it just happens. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, it's hogwash, but it really is. I mean, it's just like, you're not focused on making money. You're focused on getting the job done and doing it right, and doing it as best you can. So it's not just, that, but you have to help people out in the shop. You've got to work as a team, because everybody offers something different in that shop, and you never know when you're going to have to rely on somebody like that. So,
one thing I will add though is, if talking about the person that's trying to learn, you need to make sure that you do pay attention. You don't argue with whoever's teaching you. If you're asking someone for help, listen to what they have to say. Then it's up to you to either take it or don't. But I'm only going to try to teach somebody the same thing once or twice before I'm like, okay, we've gone over this. We should be further ahead by, so I would say that's kind of how you can help decide. I mean, yeah, obviously you can't stop to teach somebody 24/7, but if you're receptive to learning, it makes it that much easier to be willing to teach you. So I think that's a big thing. If you're after advice and after knowledge, show that you are.
Now, Felipe Champagne says training is the key to improving skill sets. I'm a strong believer in helping the new guys doing it hands-on. Training is key. Yeah, it's great to get trained and gain some knowledge, but then you've got to put that to practice. So, when you guys learn new stuff, and or when you see other new guys learn new stuff, how do you integrate that into practical hands-on stuff when it comes down to actually doing the work of something new that you learned, or some new training that you received?
You go ahead, Cass. This one.
God, I wasn't even paying attention. I was reading the comments.
I may be guilty of the same thing.
I'm over here like reading. Lindsay was talking, and it all sounded great. I was like, Robert's got this. I'm just gonna sit back and moderate. Just sit back here and
yep.
right out the window.
All right, Robert, take it.
Repeat. I was reading the comments. That's what I both got.
That's a great question.
Man.
Too bad we can't answer that, though.
No, we can answer
next,
it.
Johnny.
We can answer it. Oh, yeah.
We will repeat the statement and then move on into the question. Felipe Champagne says that training's key to improving skill sets. I'm a strong believer in helping new guys, and doing hands-on training is the key. So when you guys get training, and or when you see somebody else in the shop get training in something that you may already have some knowledge and experience in, how do you transition, that book learning and that knowledge to actual hands-on practical skills, and how do you help a new guy do that?
It's tough. It depends on the situation. First off, if I see another guy that's teaching, I'd never try to interfere because I'm not here to compete with being a teacher of someone. But when someone asks me a question of how I understand it, it's hard for me because I never went to school. I learned a lot of this just hands-on. One kind of good example is like line diagrams. I understand them. I've never had a problem, learned them quick. I can read them easily. Other than CAS, I don't know if anyone else can in the shop and work out. I know they can't. I mean, they'll admittedly look at a line diagram and it's foreign. Sometimes that's where it's hard to teach, because it's hard to teach something that I don't know how I learned. I mean, some stuff I just understand, but all of our brains kind of work different too. And that's where, some of us are mechanically inclined and some of us aren't. Those who aren't, I think that's where the book stuff is probably what helps you along. I don't know, but that's just my suspicion. But as far as I go, I try to understand how a system works, and then it makes diagnostic easier. It makes understanding why things fail and how to repair them. That's how I approach most things that I work on. I've tried to teach that to people, and some people get it. Some people, it's like just goes right over their head. And it's hard to fault them because, like I said, everyone's brain works so differently that it can be tough.
Jess, how about you?
All right, so I'm just going to start from the beginning here. So I did go to trade school, and I will tell you this: you don't learn any one specific thing in trade school, but you learn how to learn it at an accelerated pace, right? It's just like college, right? College doesn't teach you any one specific thing. You learn how to learn at an accelerated pace. When you work in a shop, you know how to gather information, and you're going to find out where to get that information from, and then you're going to learn how to put it to use. And I think it's the most important thing. And I used to suck at electrical, but I just focused and I was like, I need to clean this up. This needs to be, better. And I just went and I worked and worked and worked and practiced and worked and worked. And this is one of those things. You don't get better by going to school. You get better through experience. And because it changes every day. Because I went to trade school in the early 2000s, right? And cars have drastically changed since the early 2000s to now. So it's unrealistic to go like, well, we learned how to test this back in trade school. That doesn't apply. But if somebody in the shop has gone to a class or a seminar, I like to go pick their brain and see like, what's new? Can I learn something from them? Because I don't ever look at like the tier system in the shop as like the guy that's been there the longest or the guy with the most tools is always the most knowledgeable guy. Sometimes the new guys know something, like they've learned something coming in. So they could be a valuable resource. You just through time, you learn how to filter through a lot of BS. And so you're like, okay, this is this, this is this, this is this. But if they have something new to offer, then I'm 100% down for listening. There's nobody, I don't ever look at and judge somebody based by experience, age, or, whatever we need to judge them by. I look at them as, is the information valuable? And that's how I decide, like if they're constantly learning and they're learning new things, you're like, aha, that is something I can use. So.
Well, Anthony says that he has an apprentice who's doing well. He's hard on him, but he keeps learning. In 6 weeks in, he's on his own in charge of the graveyard shift. And that seems like a real good win for not only him, of course, but for you, Anthony, for anyone who's mentoring somebody who's overseeing what they do, to see somebody take to it that much and that quickly, that's got to feel good. And it certainly only means great things for the individual, but certainly, to cast your point earlier about a team environment, that only does well for the team.
Yeah. You gotta read Ed's comment. Maybe not the second, but you gotta read Ed's comment.
We'll read Ed's comment here. Oh man,
That's really good.
I haven't scrolled down in a while. Holy cow!
You're a popular guy, Lindsay. That's all I can say.
I didn't realize how much.
That is a good one.
Behind the comments. Woo!
That is a good question.
All right, hold on. I don't know, man. I'm just.
It's an interactive chat, Lindsay. You have a very interactive segment.
Well, I got the.
Now you're caught.
I am, because I got caught not scrolling.
Lindsay just got caught looking at the clicks.
I was waiting to address some of the other guys' questions, but I didn't realize there's a lot has gone on since then. Man, oh man!
This is Ed's question. It really is it's a great question.
Just scroll to the bottom and then go back up. There you go.
Oh, it's clearly only helped, Ed, because now so many people get YouTube certified.
Exactly. So, Robert, you answer this, because we're probably on the same path, right? We're probably going to have the similar answer.
Well, we'll both have an opportunity. You can fill on what I leave off. I personally think YouTube has hurt the mechanic 100%. For the most part, like in most cases, I shouldn't say 100%, but I kind of believe that when you rely on something like YouTube, for one, let's just talk about this. If you've ever watched a YouTube video on how to fix something, it's not how to fix it. It's, for example, my lights don't work. I replaced the body control module. Here's how you replace it. It's not why, how they determine that was it. They don't probably tell you about how many times they spent their own parts at it or anything like that. It kind of cuts diagnostic out of it. And diagnostic is the biggest thing that we do. That's what separates the men from the boys, in my opinion. Anyone can throw parts at something. Anyone can hang parts, do suspension work. Sure, some of us could do suspension work faster, whatever. That's all great. But when, you got something coming in misfiring, it's getting that thing checked out and fixed properly the first time. And I think YouTube has, in most cases, has kind of created this mentality of, well, in this case, Coyle's going to fix a misfire most of the time. Let's start there. Versus someone like Caster is going to say, well, let's rotate a plug in a coil and see where the misfire moves to, if it moves, and go from there, for example. That's my opinion of YouTube. I use it. The only time I use YouTube, I used it the other day, how to pull a door panel on a 07 BMW 328i rear door panel. I work at a diesel shop. You know how long it's been since I pulled a window regulator on a BMW? Probably 6 years. So yeah, I used YouTube for that because it's way faster than Pro Demand. But that's embarrassing just to say that.
Oh, Cass, what do you think?
All right, so I'm gonna put the shop owner hat on real quick, because I do own a shop. We do work, and I hate when somebody goes, well, I saw it on YouTube, it didn't take that long. I'm like, okay, well, come on over and let's get you working. Let's get you tool belt on, get you clicked in, go ahead and knock it out for me. You saw it on YouTube, you didn't see them edit it down. And so people have this they go watch a 30-minute show or a 30-minute video and they think oh, he changed that out in 30 minutes. Well, what they didn't see is the other 3 hours he had to figure out how he was going to change it out in 30 minutes, he had to remove half the car to change it out in 30 minutes. There's a lot more goes into it. It's kind of like people that go and watch those car rebuild shows and in an hour, they see a car go from rust to riches, they're like, this shouldn't take that long. It shouldn't cost that much. Yeah, right.
Well, Renegade's Garage comes up with a really good point. Imagine starting out in the 80s and continuing to work on vehicles until now. It's a big difference. When you think about how technology has advanced the industry and what that means for the knowledge that someone needs, and whether or not they went to school and got a formal education, or whether they grew up with it and learned it that way, or whatever the case might be, you're going to see, I think, technological changes dictate maybe different personality types getting involved, especially when we look at electric vehicles now coming online, and how, say, for example, Tesla technicians really aren't, the conventional automotive technicians or mechanics that we know. They're a really different breed. That's got to be changing things, or at least will be in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in '96. Fuel injection was in everything when I was born, and by the time I got into this trade, obviously things haven't changed a whole lot in technology or in automobiles in general. So I can only imagine what it's like to start back in, carburetor days.
You're kind of selling
moving
yourself a
into
little short
today.
because it's not like we don't work on everything. There's
Wow.
there's
Yeah.
not a project that we won't take on at times. Like there really
No,
isn't.
I
And I'll say this,
Yeah.
and Robert's going to sell himself a little short on this, but I'll give Robert a lot of credit. Robert is not afraid to do anything. He absolutely is not afraid to do anything. He will go and we will figure out a way. And it's just the way he is. And that's what makes him so great to work with. You want to have somebody like that around you because it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, we've worked on cars from the 1920s and we figured it out and gone from there. You have a basic skill set, when you've done this long enough. So it applies to everything. It doesn't matter if it's a car, a bulldozer. It doesn't matter. I mean, you know how to address a problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's definitely true. But I mean, just going I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of like starting off working on 1981 Chevrolet pickups with a carburetor and a, fire make it happener and sparkulators and stuff, and moving to what we have now. I mean, I assume that you kind of advance over time, and it's probably not as daunting as it seems in my mind. But I grew up working on carbureted stuff before I ever touched anything with a computer or fuel injected. So, personally, obviously, Cass and I will work on anything. It's probably a fault more than it is anything else. Seems like sometimes.
There's sometimes we probably shouldn't work on some of the stuff we work on.
We've worked on things that fly, float, drive on the road, drive off road. It does keep it interesting. I can say that.
Well, how does specializing in something help or hinder the technician or the shop? Is it more beneficial to be kind of a general automotive, or does it matter that you can say specialize in particular, like your European vehicles or larger stuff, or certain brands only, or anything like that?
Specialized just means you're probably gonna make more money than me because you're always just you build a routine on working on one thing. Like if F-250s is your thing, all you're going to work on is F-250s, and you get pretty good at working on F-250s. Robert's laughing.
I mean, we
inside joke, but
we work with a guy that at our diesel shop that does work on the Ford, and if he's watching right now, he'd agree. That's what he likes. That's what he understands, and he can probably figure out some of the other stuff, but he'd prefer the Ford. That's fine with me because while he's doing the Fords, Cass and I are over doing everything else, including some Fords. So,
but I tell you what, I don't want to give away all the secrets. I mean, like there's just some things that we do that I don't want to put out there because I'll it kind of opens yourself up. But there's things that we work on that we make really good money on that I wish we'd do more of. If we get specialized in that would be great because it pays so well. And
but I think that the difference, like working on something different every day, makes quality of the trade a little better for me. Just working on something different, it really makes a big difference for me. Cass and I may be working in the shop. We may be working at someone else's shop. We may be working in a field. We may be working underground next. Who knows? And it's so much
we
fun
almost
when
did work underground. Like technically, we were like.
That's true, but
Robert was almost in the ground. I guess I don't know.
Hey, we've worked underwater before.
Yeah, literally
underwater. But
we don't have to tell that story, like we can just let that one go to like.
We're gonna let that one go another day. We'll tell fun stories. That's an idea. We need to do a story time at some point. Put you all to sleep probably, but anyway. Specializing, it could hurt and it could help. I mean, I guess it just depends. I don't specialize in really anything necessarily. I kind of work on a little bit of everything. I wouldn't say that I'm perfect at any of those things, but it does feel better for me to be able to have confidence in anything that rolls through that door. I can probably figure it out. Just the question is how long it take me.
So when you're looking or someone else is looking for a job somewhere, if you're looking to change shops, or you've either because like you've relocated and you need a job, or you're just looking to get out of where you are, what are some of the things that you look for in a new shop? And then what are the things that you want to make sure you avoid in a new shop?
So I've only worked at a few shops. So I've only had and man, I pretty much was hired immediately. Cass got me my first real mechanic job somehow. And past that, everything's kind of just fell into my lap. But one piece of advice I could say is whenever you go into a shop, don't be afraid to really take your time when you're walking around the shop. Talk to mechanics, feel them out. Like we said, it's so important. Your coworkers are so important. You're always going to run into like those quiet guys that may not want to talk. Heck, I mean, when a new guy comes in our shop, I'm usually negative right away. Just have my doubts. It's kind of person. Probably wrong of me, but what I'm getting at is if you're on the other end of that and you walk up to somebody and they're not really wanting to talk, don't take it personal. But just everyone's weird. Everyone handles new people so differently. Some people best friends right away. Some people don't want to talk to the new guy. Don't even want to talk to the guy that's applying. But peek around the shop. The owner's a big thing, or whoever leads, whoever runs the shop. It's such a big thing. Do they buy equipment? Do they keep up with equipment? Shop clean? Or they stay on top of their? Are they a good boss? Do they tell people what to do? Do they keep business and keep that thing going? How do they handle issues? I mean, that's one thing that's always upset me more than anything is how issues are handled at a shop. We mentioned that at the beginning of this. That's a big thing for me. I mean, I could almost just say, hey, how would you handle this scenario? And that would, I'll instead of interviewing me for a job, I'm going to interview you for me to work there is what I'm getting at. So it's real important to kind of see what's in the shop, what kind of tools, and who you're going to be working with. Take your time. That's all I can say. But don't be afraid to give it a shot. Worst thing that happens is you leave in a couple weeks.
Cass, how about you?
Well, I hate to be different from everybody, but my whole deal is my next move is not going to go work for anybody. It's going to go work for me. And, Robert and I have talked about this, and, who the other portion of the equation is, Lindsay. And my whole deal is I don't want to have to do the filling out process. I want it to all, come through me. Now, obviously, I'm going to have people that work with me, and I'm going to have partners in this deal because you can't do it alone. Not at the level I want to do it at. You can't do it alone. You can't. I've tried it. It's hard. I worked for 4 months by myself, and I was answering phones, doing estimates, working on cars, and then I finally had to break down and beg Robert to come and help with the shop at night, and that was probably the most money Robert ever made in his life, but.
Turns out working 2 full-time jobs pays well.
Yeah. but the whole deal is it was so hard, and just the level, because we had a big business built up, and we were really busy for 2 guys, and then having one guy just disappear and being down to one guy, it was hard. But like I said, I don't want to go work in another shop because there's so many other things about other shops that I don't like. I don't like some of the people that work there. I don't like, the way ownership handles problems. We've worked at 2 shops where some guys get away with, there's different tiers of discipline, right? Or different tiers of, I'm probably saying this wrong, but let me think about it for a second. It's like different set of rules for everybody. One guy's got a different set of rules than another guy. And it really shouldn't be that way, because then you create like a animosity amongst the guys. And, if a guy is messing up and he's been there the longest and the owner likes him a lot, that's a guy you should be able to approach and talk to, and not just like, push the problem aside or try to cover it up or try to placate everybody else in the shop and, to his needs, sometimes you just need to be told, like, hey, you suck. You need to change your attitude. Everybody hates you. Sign the whole shop. The owner should be able to do that. He should be able to go and do some conflict resolution. I worked in a shop where two guys got into a fight because of conflict, because the owner didn't want to run his business. He wanted the business to run. He wanted to collect the paycheck of an owner. He wanted to work in the business as a technician, but he didn't want to be in charge. And, I approached him. I'm like, hey, you have to do something about this or this is going to be a bigger deal. And then it escalated one day and it was a big deal. And then afterwards he was, pointing fingers. I'm like, you don't get to point any fingers. This is on you. This is your fault. And he was like, well, how's it my fault? They got into a fight. I go, because you didn't do anything to settle the conflict. It would have been real easy if you'd have gone and talked to both of those guys separately. You probably could have kept it from happening. You probably could have kept it from both guys leaving, but instead he let it go too far. They have a fight. One guy quits because, he was going to get fired anyways. And then the other guy ends up leaving too because, that guy's not going to ever help you out. You didn't do anything to help him, like it was obvious that it was going to happen. You were too weak to do it because you wanted to, have the easiest job you could as an owner. Well, shit, he shouldn't have even been in the shop then if you're not going to do that, or he should have at least let somebody be in charge that could handle it.
Yeah,
it would have been real
really
simple.
comes from the top down, doesn't it?
But it does. But the whole thing is he could have gone and had somebody. It didn't matter anybody in the shop go and be in charge and like, this is how you handle it. Like this is how we're going to handle it. He's going to do this job. You're going to do this job, and that's it. And if you don't like it, there's the door. But you're not going to go at each other all the time because you don't like each other. If you can't get along, then one of you has to go, or both. It doesn't matter. But you've got to be the boss. You've got to run the business, right? You just can't sit there and go like, well, I sit back and make all these decisions from afar and, and Robert worked there. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Am I wrong at all on this deal?
No, but
I mean,
I don't know. I think that what a lot of this, like, Cass and I have worked together for a long time, and most of the issues that generate between coworkers, for us, it's usually because of difference in standards, more or less. Probably the easiest way to put it. It's not that we have high standards. It's, to us, it's like the normal way of doing things. And Lindsay, you've been in that after-hours shop we got. You see what we do. We test drive. We check the cars after test drive. They go back up to the shop. We clean everything when we're done. This is just stuff that's like normal to us. But when you work somewhere with people that don't put the same amount of attention to a vehicle, that's where conflict arises. Like for me, especially, it's not, I care less about your personal life and all that stuff. You keep it at home. I keep mine at home. We're all good. But and that's where it's hard working in a shop with a lot of other people. And just, you give it 110%. The guy next to you gives 10%. It's tough. Definitely when he's working on like a friend's car, something like that. So when it gets hard. It gets difficult. But yeah, I think that
I think that's one of the things that really impressed me about both you guys is how seriously you take your profession and how you're so genuine and sincere about wanting to do a great job. We all know plenty of people who cannot wait for the end of the day. They just want to go home, get out of there, forget about the work, forget about the job, and go do something else at their time until they got to be back there the next day. But to see people who genuinely care and take it seriously, it's rare, unfortunately. We don't see that much of it. And I think that when you guys are doing what you're doing, when you own a business or you're running your own shop or whatever the case is, it takes it to a whole new level, and it requires a different kind of personality than what you find in the general workaday guy that's just going to show up and work for someone else every day.
Yeah, and that's why ultimately Cass is saying, he wants to be part of leadership of a shop or owning a shop. And I'm in the same boat. I feel the same way because we know what we expect of each other. And it makes it a lot easier. Sometimes it gets aggravating when you're still, checking the same car out really late at night, but you're trying to make it perfect. There's been many late nights where it's all about customer satisfaction. We don't want cars to come back. Of course, mistakes happen. But I can tell you the relationship that we've built personally with our customers, it pays off in the long run. People, for the most part, don't complain about bills. And half our customers, if we find something else in the shop, we don't even have to call them. We just go ahead and fix it because we know them that well. We know that they're going to approve it. We know what they expect. and they know what we do. They know us just as well. So it just seems like it's a better way to do things versus the kind of guy that just 8 to 5 does what he does, gets tickets done, turns them in. That's it. For me, I'll stay up at night if I'm not 100% sure that the car I sent out the door is ready to roll. Some people sleep just fine not test driving something. I can't do it. It can't work like that.
Oh, David at Renegade's Garage says you have to take it seriously or it will eat your lunch. I've known a few guys who have started shops and were out of business before too long because they thought that all the money that came in was for them. They didn't have money to buy parts. They didn't have money to pay their rent. They didn't have enough money to do other things because they may have been surprised at how much money was going through their business without understanding all their costs and their expenses. And they didn't have a head for it. I don't know if they didn't want to be in it for the long run or whatever it was, but no, they did not take it seriously and it killed them. They weren't in business long at all. So you have to focus on the business for the sake of the business before you focus on anything else.
Yeah. And I also think that if you're someone like me and you're trying to start a shop, you have to put the standards that you have into place and make sure that anyone that comes and works under your name is the same way. And like Cass mentioned earlier, you have to kind of have somebody to lead the shop, but they need to work the same way you do. And we've worked with a shop foreman before that doesn't agree with what the owner does or whatever, and the owner doesn't want to argue with the shop manager, and kind of stuff gets difficult. Sometimes we have too many bosses. You don't know who to go to make a decision. That kind of stuff. It's weird. I don't know how it all began, but if you're going to start a shop, you need to give it all you can. I mean, business is a whole nother thing. Lindsay, you know all about it. You could probably tell both of us more about business than anyone, but you got to take it seriously, and you've taken it seriously since day one. I remember the first day we were the first shop you went to or second shop you went to when you first started. It's like your first day, I believe.
Oh, you may be right about that. Yeah. You're right, because that was my first day on the road was in dripping. And yeah, I think you were, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that day very well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because, like Theo from Country Mile Garage says, running a business is not the same as a job. It takes self-control, a tremendous amount of control and discipline. I mean, you have to be able to stay focused on something. You have to set your priorities, even if it's on a week-to-week basis. When my wife and I do our budgeting for the week, we're very strict with ourselves. We know what we can afford to spend this week. And okay, if we need something that we can't afford, we're putting that off. And we kind of schedule that out. We say, okay, in 2 weeks, then if we allocate money, we set it aside or whatever it is, then we can afford to buy this kind of thing, or then we can afford to, reorder this stuff that we need from this vendor or whatever the case is. And it takes a tremendous amount of discipline and self-control. And not everyone has that, or you better be able to develop it if you don't have it.
I'll tell you this, and this is something Robert and I have talked about and stuff, and that's overloading us as far as work-wise, because we've had, up as recently as probably a month ago, we've just had like an insurmountable amount of work. And we finally just had to say, we've got to get this stuff done. And we can't bring anything else until we get it done. We've got to get like the herd thinned down. We've got to have a more manageable way of how we bring cars in, how we do stuff. Because right now, we're just like killing ourselves as, working as much as we do and with the stuff we did. And so I guess the last probably 2 weeks has been kind of an adjustment period, so, financially it hasn't looked great, but right now I can look at what's going to happen this next week, and I know what, he's going to make this week, and it looks really good. I mean, I'm tired, but I feel a lot better than I have in weeks past. And I think he does too. I mean, you can kind of tell. Well, I can't because I'm around him all the time. His attitude is better than the last couple of weeks, and he kind of sees where we're going and what's going on, and I'm trying, my best to not just completely flood us with stuff. And I had to get good at telling people no, and that's not something I've been great at before. I'm the world's worst at like telling people no, and I hear about it from Robert a lot. He's like, just tell them no. I'm like,
It's funny because Cass and I, several times, I've gone on and got upset with him. We'll tell each other like it is. We've known each other long enough. Come on, man. How could you say no? And then 10 minutes later, a customer will call me like, yeah, bring it by right now. 9:30 at night? No problem. Let's make it 10:30. The no is difficult. But,
we have a lot
right
of.
now,
No, go ahead. Sorry. No, I'm sorry.
We're just trying to, we're trying to, we work a full-time business and then leave and go to another business, trying to make this all work and build something better for ourselves and build what we want. And we do have a lot of freedom being able to set our own standards, and man, it is a lot nicer. It'll be really great when it's all we're doing. So,
because I think that's the things that all business owners, I think, have that same thing in common. And we have the good fortune of having a number of guys who own their own businesses in the chat tonight. I know Theo Country Mile Garage owns a business. Raging Cajun is an owner operator in his business. There's a few guys out there that own their own gig, and just having that discipline to say no, and knowing when that one more job is going to take on more than you can handle. I think that's probably. I'd love to hear everyone else's opinions too. As a business owner, probably the most valuable thing I've learned is knowing when to say no. Because for us, it's always new customers want you to come by their shop. I simply can't do it, or it's not the kind of shop that I prefer to do business with. And being in a position where I can do that, I know there's some shops that I really want to be able to go to, and other shops I don't want to go to. And being able to say no to that has done a lot for me and my ability to do business and my own outlook. Because you're right, it makes you feel better because it gives you some control, it gives you direction. I think you can see progress easier that way than just feeling like you're kind of doing a scattershot approach to things.
Yeah. I remember the first time Cass and I said no to buying something. That was a revelation for the two of us. Remember that day?
Was that the truck?
One of them, yeah. So Cass and I used to.
Oh no! I know what he's talking about. Oh man!
It'd be like hey, we're not working Sunday. Let's take off. Saturday night, he'd get a text. 10, 11, midnight. I would just share the URL of a Craigslist post or a Facebook Marketplace post, and his response was generally, "What time are we leaving?" On the road trip the next day. And I remember the first time we said no was to a truck, and we are not good at saying no, and it kind of made us realize how important it is to walk away sometimes. And no is a hard word to say, but sometimes it's a lifesaver to say it. So
that was the day I almost ran to the truck and didn't say anything, just like gone.
Yeah.
I hope Robert's following me because we're not slowing down. But that needs to go in story time. You got to bring it up. That one's gonna be in story time. Some other one, because that's probably a 20-minute story.
But those are so important because that's how you learn the best is when you go through stuff like that. A buddy of mine who became a mobile technician a few years ago, I thought it was hilarious because I've done it. We've all done it and been there too. When he kept saying, "Man, I'm taking on all this stuff," I'm like, "You got to learn to say no, man." I said, "You got to really whittle it down and define what it is you want to work on, what you're good at, what's in your wheelhouse, and exclude the stuff that isn't, and knock that stuff out of the park and forget the rest." And it takes a long time to get there sometimes because you feel like it's weird. You feel like you shouldn't be turning business away, but none of us can take on all of it. That's why there's so many people who do what we all do, is because there's so much work to go around and not enough people to actually do it. And some people are going to specialize in things that others aren't going to specialize in. Some are going to say no to jobs that people will say yes to, and vice versa.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it can work out to be a disservice to say yes. We've had people come in, they rely on that vehicle. Your service writer kind of overpromises, and we can squeeze into the shop, and we don't get into the shop by the end of the week or whatever the case, and then before you know it, that vehicle's there for. Yeah, we'll put you in the food chain. Well, before you know it, you got this customer calling, "Where's my car? Where's my car? Where's my car?" I've invested 2 weeks into it sitting there broken. and they're at a point where it's like, if we take it out, then we got to possibly sit in a line at another shop. And it's hard. It's hard to sit and watch that happen. So, yeah, going back to what we've been saying, no is the answer sometimes.
Yeah, and bringing in the right people to help you is huge too. Philippe Champagne suggested hire an accountant because he eats up your time real fast. It absolutely does. You'll spend a lot of time running your business doing things that take you away from, the things that you love to do. Like if you're a mechanic or a technician and you want to open a shop, well, you're not going to be turning wrenches nearly as much as you used to because you're focusing on all the business stuff and all the administrative stuff. And you got to bring in the right people. Cassie said it before. You can't do it all by yourself. The problem is finding trustworthy people who are going to do a good job to your standard. And that's not always easy to find. That takes a long time.
Like I said, our next step is going to be into bigger space, right? That has to happen because we can't grow in any direction without doing it. It's impossible. And it's actually hurting business, and it's keeping us from being able to go from a full, 2 full-time jobs to 1 regular job, and then the ability to where we can go and do the fun stuff that we were doing before. Because there's no free time. There's no free time. We haven't had any free time. We talk about it all the time, and there's just none. But once we get the bigger space, that's going to allow us to go full time. And then, other things like Travis is coming back, he's on the final road of recovery, from his accident. He's coming back. We have all these things lining up, and we have options for shops right now. We just have to kind of know what. Oh, nice. We have some dating sites in the chat.
Wow,
man.
where did that come from?
Oh, take you out of your busy there,
a whole new
moderator.
tier.
Man.
Wow.
Well, Lindsay, you need to go ahead and boot those things out of the channel. I am trying.
I'm clicking on them. Are you kidding me? No.
Can we click on it, check it out, or no?
No, we're not. Yeah.
I'll screenshot it for later.
Oh, looks like the channel's got a whole new audience now.
Who would have thought?
Wow.
All right. Anyways, yeah. So that's our next thing. But my goal is not to. I don't want to work on cars forever, but I want to have a business that's always there and it grows, and people can go and work their way through the business, and they want to go and start their own shop, while they're working there. Then I'm going to do whatever I can do to help them. It's like one of those things, right? Like I worked at a shop, or I worked at 2 shops that don't encourage guys to go out and do it on their own, right? Like whenever Travis left to go open a shop, our boss at the time was a complete ass about it. And, instead of going, you could go 2 ways with this, right? You could go and say, I trained that guy and I want to, be positive and help him out. It doesn't matter if he's in the same area as you, because there's so much work and so many people here that, it shouldn't matter. But instead, he took the other way. Is he stole all my customers? Well, how did he steal your customers? Explain that to me. How did he steal your customers? Did he go with his gun? He's like, you need to come over to my shop or else. How is that possible? Is it possible? No, it's not. And
people they'll deal with who they want to deal with.
It'd be like if Robert came to me tomorrow and goes, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go do this. And I'd be like, okay, what do you need? How can I help you? Because that's just how I am. Why would I go and break the guy down? Well, it's so much easier just to build the guy up. What do I need to do? And it would suck, but if that's what he wants to do, I'm not going to stop him. I'll beg him, but I won't stop him.
So should I just tell you that now, or do you want to wait till tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll wait till I pay you first.
Oh, that's good.
Always wait for the paycheck first.
Yeah, wait till I pay you first. Just. But
Theo's got some good advice.
Like I said, that's the next step. So.
Yeah. Well, Theo has some good advice. He says a good accountant that you can trust is hard to find. Yeah, you betcha. I can break out.
I've heard this complaint by a certain somebody.
Oh my God! In fact, because he's right. You have to know your numbers. So you know what's what. Well, if I have to know my numbers, then I need the accountant for a whole lot less. But I do need to know my numbers, and because I can't just trust the information I'm getting from the accountant. Yeah, this is a long story, so I'm not going to get into it now. But in fact, I was talking with a shop owner yesterday about it, and we were talking about the bookkeeping situation because he also knew my woes from way back when. And I told him how much better things were now that we are doing it the way we're doing it, because we have way more control over it. We can budget, but we can budget better, and we have better insight to our numbers. And he said, "Oh, you went full Coyle on your bookkeepers." I said, "I guess I had to. You make your own system, and you kick the other people to the curb that can't do it. And as much as I would love to give that to somebody else, the fact is no one else is doing it in a way that makes any sense at all to me. When we've looked at numbers that they've drawn up, they simply were not the actual numbers that our business is generating. So when it comes time to building the team and finding people who are trustworthy, man, you got to be vigilant, and you have to know your numbers cold so that you can determine if these people that you're bringing in are in fact good at what they're doing, or are they bad at it? And you won't know that unless you know your own numbers."
Yep.
Let's get some questions going. Come on, people. Give Bobby some hard questions here.
No one's questioned that stupid picture Lindsay picked of me yet.
That was a great picture.
It was out of context. It was awful.
It was a terrific picture. Well, the thing of it is that picture, that was a still from a video that went up a long time ago. So people have context if they've watched the video.
It's not that long ago. It was like months ago. It wasn't like years ago.
I don't know. I mean,
a month or two or three.
It was a while back.
It was before it was like oppressively hot. I think it was just moderately hot. Now it's oppressively hot.
I think that was before the swamp cooler.
That was before the swamp cooler.
Yeah.
That was
Joey's over here asking if we're close to 290. I don't know, Joey. How close are you to 290?
Our address could be close to 290.
Is he talking?
Joey's friends with Jude. He's like one of Jude's original guys on Jude's live stream. Joey's a good guy.
Okay.
So make sure you block him, Lindsay.
Oh, obviously. We only block the good people. We only want the riff.
Only block the good people.
Yeah.
Well, let's see how many people in the chat. I think you've been up to almost 50 in the chat, Lindsay. I think you're at 41 right now.
It's been fluctuating. It's been a good night so far, and people are still hanging in there. Jonathan Sherwood just popped back in. Good.
All right. Do you have any more questions for Robert, Lindsay? Like listed questions, or are you just on the cuff now, or off the cuff?
We were going on the cuff for a while, but we'll go back on the questions. Well, this is actually a really good question for both of you because you've been in the industry for different lengths of time. But how have you seen what you might say is a typical shop culture? How have you seen that evolve over time? And to put it in context with something that David from Renegade's Garage said earlier about starting to wrench back in the 80s, you're going to see a bunch of changes technologically, but I'm guessing that, as the requirements for knowledge and skill changes over time, that's going to change the kind of people that tend to get involved in the industry. So what have you guys seen culturally that's changed over the years?
Well, one thing I've seen, and it's something that I hope I never run into, but I've worked with a couple different older guys that have no interest in learning something new. Anytime I find something crazy wrong, I usually give everyone the opportunity to come check it out and to see what I went through, so they might understand in the future if they run into the same problem. And there's been a few guys that are just like, nope, absolutely not. I have no interest to care. I'll never work on one of those. I don't ever want to. And to me, that's pretty low to say something like that when you're a mechanic, is say, I don't want to learn anymore. I'm done. Well, if you're done, then get your toolbox out of the shop. I mean, that's the way I feel about it personally. But I haven't been in the industry long enough to see Too much cultural change, more or less. One thing I can say is I've worked in, 3 different shops, and I think every shop's kind of got their own way of doing things. It's kind of hard to explain. Maybe Cass could explain it better, but you kind of get to where it kind of goes back to like the way that, say, the senior guy in the shop does things. You kind of see a trend in how everyone else at that shop kind of follows suit. That can be good or bad, but it kind of just depends on the situation. But I've gone and I've had a couple job offers in the past, and I always I went and checked out a few before. I wasn't looking for a job, but someone's offering, I'm always willing to check it out and go into this shop and see how this shop does things. And pick up on the differences. Just in 10 minutes of being in this shop, you can see big differences, and whether it's the way the shop's set up or the kind of mechanics that are there, or just I've always worked at shops where the owner is in the shop working with you, which also can be good or bad, but for the most part it's good, I would say. I can't imagine working for a boss that hasn't worked in a shop before. I couldn't imagine, definitely if it came to like him telling you how to do something, especially. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at on it. Like I said, I haven't been in the industry quite long enough to have the info that Cass probably has on this subject.
Cass, what do you think?
I mean, Robert answered it pretty well. I mean, you get guys that don't want to change. In the shop culture, I mean, like it also, you got to think about going from a shop where it's just 2 guys to going to a shop where it was like 7 guys, and the culture changes as well because the guy in charge is collecting more money now, and so he's, he has a different opinion of what his work is or isn't, and so you kind of, it makes stuff tricky. Like I said, that kind of falls back to the had he gone and been boss, things would have changed differently. But this is one of those things. I mean, Robert pretty much nailed it as far as shop culture goes. Over time, you just see guys that don't want to advance with the times. And, the shops that we work in, or especially like our own shop, I don't ever want to just say like that's enough. I mean, like I know we're going to have to work on electric cars. It's coming. We're just going to have to start getting ready for it. That's all there is to it. So, eventually we will be servicing those as well. Not just hybrids, but true blue electric cars. And, that's fine. We're going to make it work, and we're going to keep on going because as long as they're still rolling down the road, they're still going to be braking. So, that's my attitude, and people around us are going to do people that work with us are going to do the same thing. Like there's not going to be a guy that's just going to get to a certain point and, like he's like, that's it. I'm not doing anything else. Sorry.
Well, let's see if we can get caught up in the chat here. We've got
there was a comment that I had saw that I really liked.
We have Jimmy Making It Work has popped in. Great to see you, Jimmy. Thanks for coming.
There you go, Jimmy.
Yeah.
There's Sherrod Ford says, hey, what's your advice for a new mobile mechanic to start YouTube content? Put it on the internet or put it on YouTube. I post less than everybody else alive. So just put it out there, good or bad. And the one thing I'll tell somebody is show your faults as much as you show your successes, because that makes you real, right? Because if all you show is your wins and not your losses, then it doesn't show people that you're real. It's just you're really good at editing, right? Because there's been plenty of times that we've failed, and we failed, on YouTube. Like it just is. It is, but it shows that you're real. It shows that you at least you're trying. So
I gotta echo that because I get frustrated when I'm working on something like when I took on air tool repair stuff in the last few months. It's easy to pull something apart, and it's sometimes difficult to put stuff back together again. And sometimes you're confused by something that's going on. Now I could sit there and edit out all the confusion and just show the part where I'm inserting the new piece easily and effectively, or I could show you, all 45 minutes of me swearing at it, wrangling with it, or somewhere in between, right? And it's got to be in between. You've got to show that you're not perfect. You got to show that you're trying, you're learning, you're growing, because you're going to get really good advice from other people too. And just put the content out there is the best advice that Cass could give you. a lot of us
I
just
mean,
kinda
your
wring
most
our
successful YouTubers are people that are themselves.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They're not make believe. They're not somebody pretending to be somebody they're not. That's who they are every day of the week. And
Right.
that's what you have to do. So, in my opinion, I mean, like I've got like I'm a nothing. I'm a flea in YouTube. When I haven't even made it to a fly status. But from my
Well, we all
observation,
do.
though, like I can play armchair quarterback on that question, and I could say, put it out there. There's no the only bad content is the content that you edit so heavily to make yourself look good. That's bad content. Put
Yeah,
it,
I
Yeah, and
think
the other
put
thing,
honesty is
yourself
good.
out there.
And it takes
the
a
other,
while to find that voice too that is going to resonate with a customer or with a viewer base, because you may know that you want your channel to be something in particular, but in my case, I was surprised that my channel became something I didn't necessarily want or think it should be, but the viewership is going to dictate that, and you're going to know judging by how much people watch and the kinds of comments they leave, and you got to absolutely take the negative comments to heart because there's probably some truth to it. If someone has you cannot get better unless someone's going to give you criticism. You can't, because someone could say, oh, your videos are great, and meanwhile they might stink and no one's watching, but you keep getting that positive feedback, but that does nothing to help you. It makes you feel good, but it doesn't help you get better. So take the good with the bad because it all counts. And just make videos. Just keep making them, whatever you do. All right, someone threw a real hardball question to Robert here.
uh-oh.
Oh,
Where is it?
nice. Let's see this one.
What's the funnest job that taught you the most?
You better answer talk or working with me.
Obviously.
Funniest job, or funnest job. Oh man, that's gonna be a hard one to think about. Cass, do you have anything you can spark me with?
The funnest job that we've done together? Is that what you're
The
asking?
one that's taught you the most.
Yeah. So
No,
we've
usually
had
you learn the most from the jobs you hate the most. That's I'll say that, but the funnest workplace we've ever had. I mean, like, what we do right now is pretty fun.
Well, so the funnest job, one of the funnest jobs wasn't one of the most interesting ones was probably working in Bruce's hangar that one time. Easy job, but super fun. We were working in an airplane hangar with airplanes taking off around us. That was pretty awesome. I think some of the best fun we've had is with the issues. Definitely when we find out that it was due to one of us. That's always the best. Whenever you stop kicking your butt and you realize it was all your fault from the beginning. It's always great. It makes you feel awesome.
No, but you really do. I mean, the jobs I've learned the most from haven't probably been the funnest jobs. And the funnest job, I mean, like, the job I like doing the most was the time where we worked on the 14,000-pound forklift on a trailer. I mean, that was scary. It was legitimately scary, but
because we almost died loading it, so we decided to keep it on the trailer to make the repair.
But it was like one of those deals where that was a lot of fun because we were just blowing it going. We had all these great ideas while we were doing it. Like, hey, we're gonna do this, and it just worked. I mean, like, it was the definition of teamwork. We just absolutely just clicked the whole time. We got that thing turned around right away, got it back to the customer. He was super happy, super pumped, and we made just great money doing it too. I mean, it was just like one of those just scores, and those are jobs you look back. It's not just the financial reward that was the best part of that job. It was like the whole job was fun. I mean, it was like you saw like this big problem. There was a really challenging part to it. We came up with some great ideas to overcome that challenge, and then we did it. That's how some of them.
Overall, the best ones have been when we're working on site. When you're working out of your normal environment, out of your comfort zone, usually where it's most interesting. I know a lot of people don't necessarily work outside of the shop, but we do it constantly. It's so much fun. Just definitely when you know what you're going to work on, know what tools you need to bring, and you end up bringing half of them that you plan to, and you still get the job done. Kind of like we talked about earlier, getting creative at times. I think the creativity is the best part. Cass and I do it very, very often, whether it's pulling the engine out of a Bobcat and tying the bucket to the purlin of the roof of the shop you're working in so it doesn't fall and kill you while you're working. Just stuff like that, It's kind of the danger factor too. It's a lot of fun.
Or go work on one that's been in a fire and you have to like guess where the hydraulic hoses go.
Yep.
And you're doing it in complete darkness.
For example.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, but we shoot, man. There's a lot of there's fun stuff out there. Like we get good jobs and when you work in a repair, I don't know. Like Robert said, stepping out of your comfort zone is good because then you have like a sense of accomplishment when you get done. And you're just like, I figured it out. Yes. Light bulb comes on.
You get we think we're geniuses. Then they find out that we were
10
wrong.
minutes later, you have something else that just comes and get you. It's just like,
well, Jimmy makes a good point. Anytime you step out of your comfort zone, you'll learn and look back at it as fun. Once it's done, how many times are you guys working on stuff that only looks good in the rear view, but when you're in it, you'd hate it and you just want it to go away. But when you look back, you're like, that's actually pretty good.
We've had a few like that.
Yeah.
1961 GMC.
That's what started all this, wasn't it?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, I think that like the best flip job we ever did was that F-150, the train edition one, because that deal, it wasn't probably the cleanest truck of all time, but we made 100% of everything on that truck work, and that's what sold the truck. The guy was like, the detail is just so much better than everybody else,
and it didn't seem like
detail.
Yeah, that was one where it definitely didn't seem great until it was gone, and we learned a lot from that particular one. Yeah, that's a great point he made. It's sometimes the best parts when it's done.
All right.
How bad is the paperwork?
Do you guys have? Oh, did he leave a comment on?
He said something. How bad is the paperwork or office hours in the mechanic realm? It sucks. Like I got a mountain of paperwork I have to tackle, and I've been putting it off, and it's going to take a large chunk of a day, and it's not going to be fun. But
the phone calls are the worst.
Yeah, the phone calls are the worst. My wife's chiming in because she's our secretary right now, and so it can be a lot. But everything else, like there's a system for everything. So you just have to plug in the numbers in the system, and it just keeps churning. You just have to make sure you do like you said earlier, you just stay disciplined and do the right thing, and it'll work out. You pretty much know what you can spend. Everything's fixed, right? If you don't have a fixed plan going into it, if you're just going to wing it doing that, then you're not going to last very long. Winging it, you're not going to make it, right? You've got to really have like a fixed, like this is what the shop costs. This is what improvements are going to cost. This is what labor costs. This is where we need to be. And this is like the money we need to make, because it's all there. It never changes. You just need to know that it's there. And, then, everything else is just a system. Everything just falls into that system, and you just go. It's just plug and play, But, there's discipline to it. Like you said, you can't, like, we made an extra whatever, we made an extra $12. Let's go buy hamburgers. It didn't work. You need to take the $12 and be a little smarter with it than buying hamburgers. So.
Well, Mall Runner asks, what's y'all's opinion on turnover rate in this industry? Sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my time trying to teach the new kids.
I think in our case, everywhere that we've worked, we haven't had a lot of problem because it could be two different reasons. There was one coworker that I had cast it and have to work with him. I don't think all or so it was just for a short period of time, but everyone wanted him to go, but he didn't. But other than that, for the most part, we kind of vet everybody well enough that when they come on, they usually stick around. But we've also, like I said, we've got a boss right now that doesn't like to fire people or get rid of people, which is another key point. Sometimes That's a flaw. Sometimes when you have all your mechanics saying, "Hey, when you have people threatening to quit, when you have a senior employee threatening to quit over a guy that's been there for a month, something's wrong when you just avoid that problem going." But employee turnover hasn't been real bad for us. In fact, the hardest thing we're facing right now is just getting people in the door to come work for us. Everywhere in our town's hiring. Every shop will hire any mechanic now. They show up with a 5-gallon bucket of tools, they're hired because it's got to be better than what we
They
got
just
now.
need to show up with a pulse.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's getting right now. It's not. I mean, we can't get porters. We can't get people that want to sweep the floors. It's tough. So that.
Well, they missed the opportunity on the last guy. They did that themselves. That was on.
100%, 100%. We had somebody want a job who had been at another shop, kind of changing oil, kind of getting into the game. He wanted to be a mechanic, and the owner's intention when he came in for an application basically told him that he'd be there to sweep the floors. That was a mistake telling him that. So, hey, I don't own the shop. I mean, that is what it is. But I encourage people to get into this line of work. It's so much fun. When I was 18, I got a job changing oil, and I would have loved to get a job straight into a mechanic shop, not just start and changing oil. So it's still better than nothing, but you got to step up. If you want to be a mechanic, don't turn down when you're trying to get into this line of work. Don't turn down anything. Get in the door. My dad told me that. He goes, "Man, I know." He found me a job. He's like, "Hey, it's changing oil. It's not dream work. I know you want to be bigger and better." And I didn't want to do it. I thought I was better than that. I'll tell you what, it got me in the door, and it wasn't long after that I got a job working with CAF, and it all paid off. So, if you're trying to get into this industry, it's stepping stone. Start at the bottom, work your way up.
I think that's
what I did when I got my first job in the shop. It's like I was like, "Hey, I'll do whatever it takes just to be here." But not just saying that, you got to go in there and actually show it, because I've never had a boss tell me I'm not doing my job well enough. You just got to get in there and just do it. And if you got to go tell, that's what's funny about new guys or young people, I guess, is if you have to go tell them to go do something, like they're just standing there on their phone or they got their vape in their hand, and then, they're never going to make it at any job. Or they're going to have to go through some really hard times to figure it out, because you should never have to stand around. You know what I mean? Like that's like the new guy in the shop, John. He doesn't stand around. You know what? If he's waiting on an answer, or if he's waiting for something, he's got the mop or the broom in his hand, and he's out there busting ass. That's why he's growing it. God damn it, they're back.
That guy.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on.
Clicking over to another site.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be on a dating site here in about 9 minutes.
Well, to your point, Cass, Gears and Wheels says, "I don't care. I'll sweep floors. I just spent 3 days cleaning a buddy's shop so I can make money for my shop." I mean, you have to approach, no matter how old you are, no matter where you are in your career, you've got to approach this with whatever it takes mentality. I'll do what I got to do. Nothing can be beneath you. Nothing can be, too much for you. You can't be better than something.
We gotta give a shout out to Gears and Wheels here. That's Brandon from BSS Small Engines. He's starting over a new channel, and that's Gears and Wheels. So you met him before, almost for certain. Yep. So
yeah, please everyone check out his channel too.
Yeah, go check it out. But yeah.
And to circle back around
we solved all the worldly problems.
Almost. We have another worldly problem that's cropped up that Charlotte Ford asks, how bad does inflation affect the shop owner's warehouse space compared to regular shop? Are the effects the same? Inflation's, no one's escaping it. Everyone's feeling the effects of it. Prices are going up everywhere. Costs are going up. And that you can tie that in to the supply line problems that we've all been plagued with. So between not being able to get parts in the case of a shop, in my case, I can't get a lot of tools. And then the cost of goods is going up. which means in order to counteract that, a lot of times labor costs go up because people have to get paid more if conscientious owners want to make sure that they're keeping pace with inflation so that their employees can make a living. It's not easy. This is a complicated situation to be in right now, and we're all feeling the effects. Cass, what do you think?
Trump 2024. You want to fix some problems? There you go. I probably just triggered about 9 people. It's all right. You don't like me. You're not gonna like me anyways. You know.
One let's just say
mean tweets. Everybody take mean tweets right now for some $2 gas, wouldn't they? I bet you wouldn't find anybody that would say that.
That's probably true.
Sorry, I didn't mean to red pill this, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So a guy I know, his shop owner was bragging about raising labor rates to cover inflation, and then talked about giving everyone cost of living raises, and then never gave them out. So that guy that I know wasn't happy about that situation. But that guy did get well compensated after he threatened to leave. So what I will say is I think that it's possible that people have taken advantage of the inflation, and
sure.
That's something you need to watch out and make sure that you're not a victim of that. If you see labor rates going up, I mean, it's to cover the cost of doing business. And as a mechanic, I mean, your costs are going up too. So you need to make sure that you're getting compensated. And I mean, it sucks. It's the world we live in. It's like, guys, that's what we got to do. I mean, we got to afford gas to get to work. It's a rough time.
The whole deal is if it's costing you, like, it costs me a lot of money every day to go to work. So it's got to be profitable for me to be there. No, it really does. I mean, I drive like over 100 miles a day. By the time we get done with all our business stuff, and I'm not driving a stinking Tesla everywhere. I'm driving, a regular vehicle. So it's not like, it's just not as easy as that. Like I have to make more money. I do have a standard I want to live to. And it's the same with Robert. Like whenever I started, about I guess it was about 8-9 months ago, whenever you started coming over and working over at Travis's after work, I just told him, I go, I'm going to pay you this much. It's more than you're making right now, but you're worth it. And this is how you have to do it. I mean, and if he comes up to me and goes, hey, I need more money, then, I'll figure out how to do it. Because, he's gonna, a happy Robert's going to keep you successful. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to keep the business going. Like any employee, if you have a good employee and, you need to offset, some of the costs they're incurring, with inflation by paying them more money. And especially if the shop is going to charge more money, because I know who Robert's talking about. And, the shop can't go and raise labor rates and then go tell somebody that and then not follow through, because that's disingenuous,
But that guy I know got compensated well, though. I mean, he's doing a lot better. So, no, but
make sure whenever you leave, you turn the light off too, guy that got compensated well.
Yeah.
I was happy though that you went and you called them out on that. I really was, because it needed to happen. But like, not everybody in the shop's been compensated since.
That's true, and that's like I said, I think there's a couple different kinds of business owners or businessmen in general, and there's some that are going to try to stay out ahead of issues by taking care of their employees and doing what's right, and there's some that are going to see how much they can bend things and how much they can get away with. And some people just won't stand up and fight for themselves. So it's hard to see certain employees get treated that way, because they're not going to go stand up for themselves and do what's right for them. At the end of the day, I mean, I work like I work for money. I'm not going to sit here and act like I do this for anything else. I mean, we do it for money. We do it for a living. That's why our standards are so high. We have mouths to feed and bills to pay. So you got to stand up for what you deserve sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I like being my own boss, because you don't have to worry about it. It all falls on you. It just, at the end of the day, that's just what it is. And I've never been one that's like, I've never hoarded the money. You know what I mean? Like, if we're making money, then everybody's making money. It's not just me. and that's what I try to do. That's what Travis does. I mean, Travis is the same way, like we're making money, he spreads the wealth. It's not like, like if the shop's just, kicking ass and taking names, you're gonna make more money, not just your what you brought in through the shop, like you're gonna get compensated, there's bonuses and whatnot. And that's how it should work. And then, when things get expensive and you have to raise prices, then you're compensated for the, inflation, right? So, but you should never so I went into the situation, or I had this situation happen to me earlier in my career, and my boss, he promised me one thing and he never delivered. And so I wanted to see how long I purposely took less money because I wanted to see how long we would go out before he would compensate me. And then we got into a discussion. I won't say an argument, but a discussion. And I go, you said this, you promised me this. This is what you haven't delivered on this. And, he didn't have a, pot to piss in or a place to stand from. I really just cut his legs out on that one. And so I was like, right now, I would be completely justified just leaving you, dumping you in the grease. But, I'm not going to. So that's just from there. Lindsay disappeared. Robert, you're in charge.
No, I just had to adjust my camera. I said to adjust my camera. No, but that's the same thing that I found really did it for me in my corporate career. Usually, people who are either owners or managers, or especially the higher up that you go in management, the less they want to be held accountable. But nobody likes being held accountable by the people who report to them, I found. And I think that is probably the worst trait you can have. You should want that accountability, and it should go both ways. You need to hold the people who report to you accountable, but they need to hold you accountable too. In the case where someone's promising something and not following through, that's a problem. And someone needs to be called out on that. And the problem is that can oftentimes cause friction. Sometimes it works out great, especially if someone's objective enough to realize, yeah, you're right. I screwed that up or whatever it is.
All right, I'll ask you this question. Was that guy objective enough to know that he was wrong? You know him. You're thinking.
I mean, I don't know him that well.
More than 2 seconds.
But
you know him well enough. Look, so as much as I shit on that guy, I did learn a lot from him, and through some of his mistakes and some of his successes. Mm-hmm. And I was at least, I'm at least humble enough to say, like, hey, I did learn a lot from him. But the greatest day of my life was the day I told that guy to kiss my ass. So
yeah.
And Robert was there; he got to watch it. And and it was a toxic situation, and I didn't help things out either. I definitely wasn't innocent, by any stretch of the imagination. If I could make a situation worse, I did. But I wasn't purposely out trying to screw people. But I definitely didn't help myself either, because I knew I was on my way out. I was just like, F this guy. Let's see what he can take. But and then. Stuff happens. I grew as a person. I changed. So, I think if you're willing to admit your faults and change, I think it helps too. So, I think we're getting off subject here.
No, actually, that's a really good segue into another question I had. What perception did you have that you were wrong about once you started in the field, Robert?
Let's see. I honestly thought tools mattered more than they do. So I worked my first job was working in a auto parts store that also had a outdoor power section, and I did small engine repair. And I had like a Craftsman toolbox and basic tools, and then I got tired of it and I quit to start my own small engine repair shop. I was maybe 18, 19. And I was meeting our Snap-on dealer in town at a gas station to pay him every week because where I was working, he couldn't get his truck there. And I wasn't going to ask him to drive that far out of the way. So self-employed, young, I didn't know anything. And I ended up seeing a toolbox one day and bought it. And bought a $6,000 or $7,000 toolbox from him, and had almost no tools in it. And then when I got a job in the shop, I thought that when I rolled that box in there, I'd be the coolest kid in school right away. Not at all. Not at all. They pushed the mop bucket to me and told me to get to work. They didn't care not one bit about the tools I had. If Snap on made a mop, though, I would have owned it. But couldn't afford the payments on it. But that was one of the big ones. And then I guess other than that, it was I didn't really think too much about other mechanics and how they would be. And the first shop I worked in, just changing oil, it was everyone was commissioned, and there was a guy that was real smart, but he was just kind of quiet. You didn't really talk to him. He'd been working at that shop for a long time. Good guy. And then a guy that was, he was mean. Him and I got along great, but he was difficult. That was one thing I just never anticipated. I just never really thought about coworkers very much. I always just thought about myself as far as, if I could do the job. So yeah, it's not really a misconception because I never thought about it in the first place, but I'm sure Cass will have a lot more info on that than me. I'd imagine.
Man, when I started this shop, I had no expectations. I kept my expectations level low, and I just because I didn't want to go and I didn't want to go and judge anything, like be judgmental or anything like that. I was some things that were disappointing, I guess, was you see stuff like in, like the UTI brochure of like all this technology, and then you get to the shop and maybe they're not using that. You're like, okay, like we can start here and build, but I really try not to hold any like big, expectations going into the shop. And then, everywhere else I've ever worked after that, I knew what the situation was I was getting into. So I'd been there. I knew the people. So if that helps.
Yeah, I think one misconception I didn't think of mentioning was the fact I thought that I knew what I was doing when I started. I was way wrong. I walked into a shop with very, very little experience and thought I was going to show people how to do things. And I way wrong on that. So most of the advice I've given, because I was guilty of it myself.
And when I started in the tool business, I had so much to learn because I was brand new to the industry, not just the tool industry, but also, the mechanic industry. And I knew nothing about either. So it was very difficult for me just to first, I couldn't act like I knew what I was doing because I didn't. And everyone could tell. So I had to learn real fast, and I had to put myself in a position to learn real fast and tell everyone that that's the position I'm in, because I don't want anyone to think that, I'm just trying to fake it till I make it. I had to learn it as I went. And the one thing I remember learning early on was just how different every shop is. And I think you mentioned, Cass, when you roll out a UTI into a shop and they go, oh no, it's not that way here. Well, I learned that a lot. It's like no two shops is it the same way. Everyone has different ways of doing things. Everyone's got different priorities. Different shops can afford to do different. I'm amazed at how many shops don't have lifting equipment. Like they'll have a jack, but that's about it. Like, but they don't have lifts. Even shops that work on real big stuff. I was watching a guy on Wednesday. I'm down at Performance Truck in Buda, and they work on nothing but big, heavy things. And they had a fire engine in there that a guy was trying to remove the transmit. I forget what he said he was trying to remove from, but he had to do it from underneath, and there wasn't enough room to work. And then I realized, and I've been going to the shop for years, I only realized then they don't have any lifts. They can't get anything in the air. Right. And it amazed me, but I still have to be cognizant of how different shops are and how that affects how the mechanics actually can do their jobs, because it affects it greatly. How much easier would it be to be able to get the truck in the air, drop out what you need to drop out, fix it and put it back up, than just to wrangle with it, just getting out? The simplest things become these monumental tasks.
Oh man, I have a saying I can tell you on the back stream. I can't say it right now because it's bad, but no, I wouldn't work at a shop if they didn't have a lift. That's not me being bougie. That's being realistic. I mean, there's no way you're gonna be productive. You can't do it. I mean, Robert can vouch for me. There's no way you can work off of floor jacks or jack stands all the time. I mean, it works out on some jobs. Like some jobs, absolutely you can make money, but I mean, not having a lift, no way. I mean, maybe when you're first starting out, you work at a place that doesn't have lifts until you like cut your teeth enough to get a better job. But it just falls into my whole deal of, whenever you go apply for a job, go and like Robert said too, go and you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. Like find out what the shop has, find out what the shop doesn't have. Shop doesn't have a compressor, you don't work there. Shop doesn't have lifts, don't work there. Shop doesn't have its own scan tool, don't work there. Like those are going to be some really big like problems. And if you don't have like, if you go in there and there's some red flags, don't work there. Don't take the job. Because that shop's going to be incredibly difficult to work at, or the tech's going to be difficult to work at because they all hate working there too. They just don't think like maybe they can get a better job. It's just one of those things. Like that's your responsibility as an employee to like go and vet the situation. You should be like, no lifts, no thanks. No air, no thanks. No scan tool, no thanks. No room for growth, no thanks.
And a bunch of guys are agreeing with you in the chat. Jimmy says no lifts. Nope. Mall runner says no lift. Not for me. I'm not touching a vehicle if I have to use a floor jack. Does that change based on where you are in your career? Like if you're a new guy and you just want to get in somewhere, is it worth
you do whatever it takes
okay, look, I'm going to learn it the hard way just so it can be easier later on? Or should that be a red flag from the get-go?
I mean, it should be a red flag from the get-go. But if it's the only job you can get, you got to take it. I mean, it really is what it is.
You're new and you've never done it. I think that there's a chance. If you're in a shop that has only so many lifts, new guy may not have the luxury of getting one right away, obviously, if he's fresh in it. Who knows? But I will say, like where Cass and I work now, owner is not afraid to spend money. I mean, you don't even have to justify it. If you say, hey, I'd like this in the shop, they'll get one. So there's no sales pitch needed. And that is a unique quality in a shop owner. Someone that will do that. I mean, we do big truck Class 8 stuff. Most shops are breaking down tires by hand. We mentioned the fact that they made a tire machine for those big 22.5s and 24.5s, and one was ordered that day. Stuff like that. I mean, it's really awesome. So that's one thing when you are looking for a job. If I mentioned earlier, is see what the equipment is and see how receptive the owner is to suggestions and obviously spending money and stuff like that. That's really unique. It's not something you get. I was very surprised when I got a job there. Just coming from where I worked before with Cass, with that previous job, where it was.
Can I tell the story, or you want to tell the story?
You can tell the story. Oh,
okay.
I know the story.
You know what to tell.
Yeah.
So one day I go up to our boss. And I'm like, hey, we need a battery charger. Like our last battery charger is broken, it's bit to dust. And then there's a guy in the shop that has his own battery charger, and he's kind of a prick. He doesn't really want to loan out the battery charger. And I didn't really want to borrow it from him because I didn't really like him. So I go up to our boss and I'm like, hey, we need to buy a battery charger. Well, actually, I said it before, and then Robert comes up and Robert's like, hey, we need to get a battery charger. And so I hand to God. The guy says, I'm going to a garage sale this weekend. I'll pick one up while I'm at a garage sale. And so I turned to Robert while I was walking away. I was like, sorry, Robert, the shop can't buy a battery charger because the shop bought a Nova instead. Am I lying? I mean, I may have some of the facts mixed up just a smidge, but that's the base of the story. I mean, like the guy went out and bought a race car instead of buying a effing battery charger. And my days were very limited at that time too, and I had no problem saying that out loud. Like, it didn't bother me at all.
And just to see the difference, we work now. We have Snap-on Otis Ultra Scanner. We have Ford IDS, the Chevrolet Tech 2, and TDS 2, all that good stuff. We have Dodge Y-Tech. We have all the heavy duty stuff. And we ran into one truck that like none of those scanners would work well with. And Cass, I think it was Cass mentioned, hey, we need to get an Altel scanner. And one was ordered like the next day. He was just like, gave Cass the credit card and was like, hey, get what you want, you know? And
do this.
It was like so weird coming from a shop that wouldn't get you a battery charger to moving to a shop that would drop $5,000 just to say I have this scanner or two. Was really, really cool. Something you just don't see all the time. So that was neat.
Well, Jimmy says that he interviewed at a shop for more money, but declined the job because they all worked in a circle with one door to get in and out of an open room with 6 lifts in a circle. Golly.
Sounds like a real circle jerk.
The tires, the wheels on your toolbox are circular. You just push past that place. Just don't
really? You know? Holy moly.
That's why our boxes have wheels. I had to remind someone that the other day. They have wheels for a reason.
And you know what? He had to explain it to him too, so he'd get it.
Wow, that blows me away. Yeah, some shops they do it different, and God bless the shops, they can still get it done somehow. But I think that so many shops just hamstring themselves when they're not getting the equipment that they need just to do, you know, a normal regular job. It's not, you know, you're not in the lap of luxury when you get lifts. That should be standard, you know, that should be normal. And, you know, when shop owners prioritize their finances, that they'd rather put it in their pocket and buy cars than put it in the shop and keep their guys productive, happy, and cranking out the work. Well, that confuses me, because as the shop owner, the more I can do to get more cars in and keep my guys busy and have them turn them over faster, the better it is for everybody. And why wouldn't you do that?
Well,
they can go buy your race cars or whatever.
You know, like, we had to take the stuff we were working on at the end of the day and push it out so they could drive all their him and another guy's personal vehicles into the shop. And right there, you know, like, you could go and tell them whatever you want to, but they're not going to listen, because, you know, they have this high opinion of themselves. And this is a whole nother story for another story time. I mean, like, I could go and I could shit on this guy for days in a row. But, you know, this is like one of those things like, hey, I got to have this motor job done by 6:30 so I can shove this, you know, so the truck can move, so I can pull somebody's, you know, Nova into the shop, or I can go and, you know, somebody will have a place to park their car. You know, like, I'm sorry, are we working at Hot Rod Shop, or are we just storing your friend's crap or your crap or another guy's crap who didn't get, you know, like what is it? You know,
it's just inefficiency.
Yeah. Oh, a thunderstorm was coming. Like, you better be able to clear the shop because they got to pull all those cars in. They can't get hailed on. You're like, pardon my language, you're like, fuck that. I'm not doing anything. Your car, I'm going to sit out there and laugh at you as you try to cover it with a towel. You know, like.
Well, one thing I will say is as bad as it sounded, I'm glad I worked there because I learned how not to do a lot of things. And me personally, I take everything, I try to learn from it and improve, and working with those guys, Cass, got something to take care of.
Lindsay, what are you doing, man?
I am so popular with the porn community right now.
I
feel like I really achieved something here.
I mean,
yeah.
You know,
they could be spamming anyone. They're spamming this guy.
Oh man, she could have broken up with anybody, but she broke up with me.
Little things in life.
I've never seen anybody so happy to get, you know, a porn bomb.
Hey, you know, it's like getting junk mail. It means someone still cares enough to send me something.
Ed McMahon, you know, it could be you, Lindsay. Could be you.
Could be me. I could
$1
be the next
million.
winner. Oh, and I could be the next winner for the Mega Millions. I have a ticket. I don't even know what the numbers are.
No,
I don't even know what the drawing is.
I don't even know what that is. I guess it's lottery, right?
It is.
It's up there.
It's a lot of money.
I'm never gonna win. I don't play.
That's the attitude to have.
Well, if you don't
I don't play though. I mean,
you
gotta buy a ticket to play. Did you buy your Mega Millions ticket?
No, because just whenever the price is real high like this, that means that there's that many more tickets and the odds are so much less. It's probably terrible.
And I'd probably, like it'd be like karma. I'd never ever, see it. You know what I mean? Like it would be like, I want to be, like that'd be it.
Oh, if you want
I'd get to the pearly gates, and they'd over there in St. Peter, and Joe will be over there like, you thought you were gonna not, that's how it worked. They'd be laughing at me.
Well, Jimmy has a really good question. What idiot pays for porn? It's free everywhere. So, Robert, what idiot pays for porn?
This one, maybe. No, I'm kidding. Look, man, if Snap-on sold it, I'd buy into that too, I'm sure.
This is porno catalog. Check it out, fellas. That beef jerky would be the most financed truck.
Good Lord.
Lindsay,
I don't know
what's wrong with you? Is your
I
web
have no
browser?
idea.
Like, what are you looking at?
Nothing. I'm surfing for nothing on my. At least I don't think I got it. Maybe I got a stray tab open that I shouldn't have opened my browser.
Check the incognito tab. That's where they get you.
That is where they get you.
Lindsay's getting his weather from this love-chat.xyz. That's right. It's the best weather in town, right?
Absolutely. Rob Straley says regarding profits and where the money goes, that's the way it is in my area, with the exception of my boss. He isn't afraid to spend money on the shop. Awesome. But the other shops and owners in the area, all the profit goes to drugs or race cars. Tough way to spend the money.
Yeah. How do I get an application to one of those?
Really? But, oh, man. I used to service a motorcycle shop. It was an independent shop, and the guy who owned it seemed perfectly nice, and he had a partner who didn't have any operational function within the company, and he hired this guy to manage the shop, and he was a really cool guy, and they got a lot of work in. And I had been servicing them for, I don't know, a year or so, and then one day I walked in, and everything was different, and the manager, a guy named Ian, was there, and he looked really concerned. I'm like, what's up? What's going on? He goes, the landlord just came over, and he said, I thought you guys were out of here already. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, 3 months ago, I had to tell the owner I'm shutting you down because he hasn't paid the rent. That was the first the shop manager heard of this. I'm like, oh my God. I said, where was he doing with the money? He's like, well, it explains why we couldn't get parts. It explains why we've had stuff sitting here forever. It explains why he was going out and, for weekend party boat excursions with his pals and all the rest of it. And, it's amazing he was in business that long, but he certainly wasn't in business for the business. He was in it for himself.
Party boats, huh? That's something to think about, Robert. Party boats.
Well,
huh?
Who? What?
We're gonna start working on party boats.
Are we?
Yeah.
Be fun.
Hey, Quick Wrench just jumped in. Good to see you. Glad you're here. All right. What else we got question-wise in the chat? Anything we have to catch up on?
I don't know. I think soon we're going to have to question you on a stream.
Oh.
That one, turn the table.
Well, feel free to hit me with both barrels. What do you got?
Oh, we got to wait. I can go into the story time one.
Oh, the story. We should do just a live stream story time and just carve out time for some good individual stories.
That'll take at least a day.
There I was, covered in motor oil underneath the old Buick. I was changing them out.
I've been covered in motor oil before.
Yep, Bobby the Pirate. Gar. There's motor oil in that there pan. Not really. It's on my face.
6-7 coming. Hot oil change.
All over his
Don't
face.
try to dump the oil onto a flat rock.
It's like it hit a Hot Wheels ramp. I mean, it was like right to the face. And it's funny they brought it up because it happened to Daniel last night at the shop. He was changing
Yeah,
oil. He comes up and he's got like oil worms coming off his face. I'm like, aha, somebody got splashed. I felt like such a dick for laughing afterwards. But
I was blowing Dello 1540 out of my nose for days.
Which shirt was he wearing at the time?
Believe it or not, the shirt wasn't any dirtier after that.
Really? That's amazing.
Is the purple shirt. He was wearing the one that Robert cut the wind slit in.
Was that the purple shirt? The one where he spun around 3 times like a dog trying to lie down on his bed?
No, that was a different. Yeah, I think he got rid of that shirt.
Hey, if anyone buys the vampire scissors,
get that shit. We need to auction that off. Give the money to charity or something. That was fantastic.
I don't think you want anything he's touched.
All right, so here's
the whole time.
So here's the story behind this one. We're going into some story time here. Robert and Cass and a couple of other guys at the shop were on the truck, 2 weeks ago, was it? And the owner jumps on the truck too. And Robert starts selling the owner on all these cool tools, right? So, and the owner has never bought anything from me in the past. And,
you're welcome.
So Robert picks up these vampire shears that I've been selling a bunch of. And he's walking around trying to find something to cut. And this other guy, Daniel, is on the truck, and he's a young kid. And he walks up next to him, and Daniel doesn't see him. He snips just the cuff of his sleeve. So Daniel hears a snip, and he doesn't know what happened. So he's looking around to see what was cut. Can't find it. And everyone starts to snicker. But Daniel's sure something's going on with the shirt. So he starts looking. And then Robert starts giving some hints, and it's not working. So he does this whole thing with the shirt's he's looking down, and the shirt's coming off. He's trying to find where that is. And then he starts trying to find the sleeve. He starts turning around like, in the process of he can't find it. He keeps spinning around like a dog chasing his tail. It was almost as funny as me trying to get back in my shirt. It was the funniest thing. And I really wish we had that on video. But we'll never be able to recreate that.
I mean, have you ever seen Fear of Loathing, Lindsay?
Yes.
It was like he was in Bat Country. He was like, he was looking around like he was in Bat Country.
It was priceless.
Oh, man. Daniel is, he's a good kid, but man, he's dumb.
His dad's a great guy, though. I like his dad a lot.
Oh man, they're good people. Daniel's a great kid. His IQ is not the highest. That's okay.
He's lovable and he's cute.
I tell you what, he's a hard worker and he never tells you no, ever.
That is such a valuable personality trait to have. Man.
I mean, he might be too dumb to tell you no. I don't know, but I mean, but if you go tell him to do something, he's going to go do it. He may not do it exactly how you want it all the time. You may have to go and coach him up a little bit, but he's definitely he's going to be successful in life just because he just doesn't give up. He doesn't quit. He sticks to what he knows and he keeps working. So
I think that's such an admirable trait. I've known people who were just doofuses, but man, they never get discouraged. And all of a sudden they start to grow on you. You start to like them because they don't know how to quit. And I love that about people. Oh,
so that's why you're coming around me all the time, or what?
Mark, yes.
Yeah. The ones I used got sold to the boss.
That's right.
And then this week, it's like Monday or so. Coworker was like, "Hey man, I think I'm gonna get some of those scissors. I mean, when Lindsay gets here, I'm gonna buy some." I'm like, "All right, cool." Hop on the truck. I'm like, "Hey Lindsay, you're gonna sell this last pair of scissors, but I must test them first." So we got Daniel's shirt again, then sold them to
different shirt.
They're all tested.
They're all
QC, man.
All right, Jimmy. Thanks for stopping in the chat. We'll see you later. Appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Lindsay, you're popular, which is all sorts
with the
of
porn sites, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna watch afterwards, but I have a pretty good idea what we're gonna watch after.
Let's see. Let's get caught up on some chat stuff Ian Lloyd says the snappy 3/4 is expensive. I've heard the earthquake isn't too bad. Check out Torque Test channel if you haven't already. They're very good at testing things, and I like how they give everything a fair side-by-side comparison. They seem very consistent in how they test things, and I also like how they dig into the why behind things. They'll open stuff up, they'll look at it, they'll show you why mechanisms work the way they work, and I rely on them for some good information. And they did an interesting test with air hammers, and they added the Chief brand air hammer from Harbor Freight to the mix, and they found that it was the identical air hammer that Mac sells, with the exception of like a pin in the trigger or something like that. Part for part, it was the same. Comes out of the same factory. The schematics are the same. So yeah, the question came up earlier about Harbor Freight stuff, and I remember seeing some things on one of my videos. There was a lot of comments about Harbor Freight stuff, and people like to put them down. But the fact is, you can get some good stuff at Harbor Freight if you're careful and you know what you're looking for, and you do a little bit of research. You can do okay for yourself.
Lindsay, can we tease the big announcement? Big deal. The upcoming news. Can we tease?
You don't have one yet. Nothing's happened.
Come on, you're killing me here.
You're teasing the
can
teaser.
We at least, can we coerce Robert going with us?
Sure.
All right, you should say yes. I'll tell you about it.
You may not know it yet, but he's going.
All right.
I'm going to take at least a day off.
I just don't have any news yet. I don't want to say anything prematurely.
We're going to space.
Me included.
I bought a rocket. We're going to space. There it is.
That's what we're hitching a ride on Elon Musk's next flight to Mars.
I bought a used rocket from SpaceX. You know, it's okay.
I got mine.
Robert's gonna figure out how to make it fly. We're good. Going to space.
Problem.
It's big stuff.
No problem.
We're gonna get really big in space.
What are the space police going to stop you? There's nothing they can do.
Actually, I think
launch that thing. You're good.
I have a feeling you start launching random rockets, you're going to find out something else too.
What?
I think there's like an international treaty that you have to get some approvals to start launching stuff into orbit.
I don't know.
I think it's frowned upon.
It may be frowned upon, but again, it's not like your rocket is going up into the sky and then like a police rocket is going to come behind you and pull you over.
No, but there might be another rocket coming on re-entry that you may not like.
Step out of the rocket, please. Give me a license and registration. Sir,
have you ever seen the astronaut farmer, Lindsay? That's a true story.
I did. That was a weird story. I thought it was metaphorical until the dude actually went up in space. I'm like, okay, now this has lost me because I thought it was all metaphorical. But
yeah, Lindsay and I, we don't share similar taste in movies. He didn't like,
I didn't like the man who killed Hitler
and Bigfoot.
That was weird. Let's open this one up to the conversation. Has anyone else seen the movie titled "The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot"? And what did you think of it if you saw it? Besides,
excellent movie.
And me.
Excellent movie.
It has what's his face in it?
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott.
Yes.
Yep, starring Sam Elliott.
Yes, the guy from Roadhouse. The other guy from Roadhouse.
Which one?
There was another guy besides Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse?
Yeah, his buddy that came, and the guy that got stabbed with a knife.
I didn't see Roadhouse.
What? You're fired.
I didn't.
Get the fuck off of YouTube.
I'm not a Patrick Swayze fan.
It doesn't matter. It's Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
You like boobs?
Who doesn't?
You need to watch Roadhouse.
Okay, yeah, that's on my list.
I mean, Robert probably saw Roadhouse when he was like 6 or 7. I mean, like, how many times have you seen Roadhouse, Robert?
Huh?
How many times have you seen Roadhouse? I mean, that's what y'all watch at Christmas, right? I mean, like, sorry, kids, no presents.
Movie is Roadhouse. No, I've seen Roadhouse many a times, but it's not like a Christmas. Die Hard's Christmas. Everyone knows that.
Absolutely, Die Hard's Christmas movie.
Yep. Let's see what we got to get caught up on in the old chat here.
There's one. That defective part, quality.
This is interesting. JWC Tech says he has a Sun X, had a Sun X 3/4 impact, but sold it. It was a beast. Got to get a new one. Did you like? Well, I mean, you say it's a beast, and I don't know too many people who've ever owned Sun X air tools. And when I talked to a Sun X rep about it at a tool show I was at, they said, we really don't focus on them. We leave the air tools up to Ingersoll and those guys. So I didn't really know how much effort they put into it, but boy, they look a lot like the Ingersoll. So I didn't know if they made them themselves or if Ingersoll made them for them or what. But I always kind of liked the pricing, and I didn't know if they were any good. What were your experiences with that?
Never used Sun X air tools. Never used them.
You got me, Bocce. Yeah. Did they found me, or did I find them? Oh.
I don't know.
You don't know. JWC Tech asked if I got any new tools in this week. Yeah, I got like 4 boxes behind me of new tools. I got to do a tool haul video on it. Maybe I'll do I don't know. I don't know if 2 live streams in a week makes any sense, but I'll they're going to be my next tool haul video is going to have a bunch of Milwaukee stuff because one of my suppliers has a big Milwaukee promo. So I just ordered a bunch from them. So I get a bunch of M18 stuff in and also some M12 new things like their new long neck quarter drive ratchet and their new high speed ratchets. And also there's a grease gun and some impacts and some other stuff that came into. So that'll make for a good video, I think. Well, thanks, Nancy. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Glad you made it. Mid-Atlantic asked me if I'm going to the Medco show in October. No, probably not. I'm kind of happy that I seem to have finally gotten caught up with all my tool bills right now, and I'm current with my vendors. So I don't want to get myself in too much trouble. Plus, I found that if I'm patient and I wait for some bundle deals or some like out of the flyer deals, like the ones that ISN has with the Milwaukee stuff, like they had that Milwaukee bundle. I find that that's a pretty good deal, and oftentimes they can be better than stuff we can get at the shows. Justin Smet owns Aircat for air tools. Love that brand too. I think their stuff is top quality. Love their warranties too, which is usually a little bit longer than a lot of other companies in the game, but their stuff is very good quality. Yeah, Jonathan, we still have 38 people on board. That's awesome. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. This has been a good night tonight so far. Having a ton of fun. Good conversation. I'm glad everyone's been weighing in, and having Cass and Robert has been great because they just have this wealth of knowledge and experience.
Maybe.
Kind of.
Kind
My first time on a stream.
You're doing a bang up job.
Awesome.
Yep.
Good audience.
Yeah.
Is your girlfriend watching right now, Robert? You think?
I doubt it. I think I would have gotten a few text messages by now, I believe.
But she is. She needs to comment. Like, say something. Say hi.
Yeah, we need her to jump in here. What's her screen name? Does she have one? No?
Sure. I don't know.
So she might already be on the chat. We just don't know.
She could be any one of these people.
She could. Well, yeah.
I would have gone with Mall Runner, but then maybe not, because there's an avatar there. And I'm like,
She could be somebody that we've known for a long time, but we've never actually met.
Well, since I'm never home, it's totally viable. Cass and I are always working. I'm never home.
I don't know. The anonymity of the internet. We don't know.
The only way I made it home before dark today was I had to go get on live stream. I was like,
That's the only night off this week was for you, Lindsay.
yeah.
I am honored. You guys are giving me some undeserved legitimacy, and I appreciate that.
So what's the next big planned live stream, Lindsay? Who are you going to get?
I don't know who I'm going to get, but the topics that I want to talk about are, well, like you and I talked about maybe doing one where we talk about operating a business, talking about the cost of goods, profit margins, and all businessy stuff. But I have a feeling that based on the audience that we have here, there are so many folks who own their own businesses that it would be an interesting topic for many of the folks who own businesses and people who, even if you don't own a business, it'd still be really interesting to hear how different business owners think about that kind of thing, because we're all going to do it slightly differently. And it'll be really interesting, even if, whether or not you own a business, it'll be interesting to hear how other people do it. That's a good learning opportunity. And I would love to do a live stream on USA made products, not just tools, but any products, because we got in on a conversation. It was on a live stream a few weeks ago. I think it was on one of Jude's streams, or maybe it was in the back room now that I think about it. And the conversation turned really interesting when we were talking about all the different things that play into U.S. manufacturing versus overseas manufacturing, and how, it's such a complicated issue, and how the U.S. plays on the world stage trade-wise, and how other countries do as well, and how that affects our commerce and our manufacturing, and what does that mean for U.S.-based manufacturing, not only for the U.S. companies who might own the manufacturing, but what about foreign companies who have a U.S. manufacturing presence, like Toyota and Honda, for example. And I think that there's some really good conversation that would come of that. So that was going to be a topic. But I don't know who would be interested. Hey, and maybe we'll throw it out here now. If anyone's interested in being on the panel on something like that, if you got particular experience in one of these areas, we'll try to put something together. I don't want it to get too big, so we might be able to, at least do something either fairly shortly or in the not too distant future anyway. And I also want to talk about, tool quality, how it's changed, how people have seen the evolution of certain brands. Like Craftsman is a great example. SK is another great example of how companies have evolved over time and how they have changed dramatically from what they were when they first started. How has that affected the quality of the tools? How has that affected the stature of the brand in a consumer's eyes? And a lot of the stuff could be anecdotal, but that's okay because it's all based on your own experiences. So there's a ton of stuff that I would love to do live streams on, and just really good topics that we could dive really deep into.
All right. So speaking of Craftsman, here's a little freedom nugget for you. All right. So the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, Camping World's leading as the title sponsor of the series, and guess who's being rumored as the new title sponsor for the Truck Series? It would be back to the Craftsman Truck Series. So does that mean that Craftsman's about to do a big launch? They're going to put a lot of money into advertising and marketing. If they're willing to go to that extent to be a title sponsor, that means that they're about to be a big push to be another player in the American tool scene. Is that a possibility? So
that there's a lot of speculation around that because isn't Stanley moving the manufacturing to the Dallas plant?
Well, they already have
for
manufacturing
Craftsman
in Dallas.
I thought they were. That's the rumor.
Well, I guess we're going to find out sooner than later. So, but
that would be that. Yeah, I think a lot of people are interested in that.
Made in America, Craftsman. My grandfather just rolled back over in his grave. Now he's happy again. Lindsay, you're up to 42 people in the chat. You just get more popular by the second.
It's almost porn pornographers. I don't know what you call them.
Pornographers.
I don't know. I'm trying to type in.
We're gonna go watch some pornography.
I'm trying to type something to Ian here and think at the same time.
I'm trying to send something like super
I
sincere
can't
and
walk
nice.
too
And
dumb.
I was over here just like blowing it up.
I don't even know what's going on.
Pornography. Yeah, my wife just said I was an asshole, which is not far from the truth.
Well, I mean,
so it's probably pretty accurate, actually.
Well, Ian thank you, Ian. He gave me the phonetic pronunciation. Pornographers.
I mean, I've
good.
seen some in my day, and it's, it ain't all been like satin sheets and, pillows there. And
well,
fluffy
otherwise
clouds.
I would have pronounced it pornographers, which would have put the emphasis in all the wrong place. It would have meant something entirely different.
Pornographers.
Pornographers.
Oh. Well, you got a shout out from Chaka Gillis.
Chaka Gillis,
Lindsay.
$2 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. Very nice.
Ryobi tools. Chaka, you can say it in Spanish. I can translate. Basura.
Yeah, and Justin says he heard the Craftsman's coming back. That's been going around, and Stanley bought the brand a number of years ago, I think 5 years ago or so. And I had always wished that something great for that brand was in store, and it looks like they may, if it's true and they're bringing manufacturing back on shore, hopefully they restore that brand to its former glory because it's a terrific brand.
Sounds like a winner. Does that mean you're going to start selling Craftsman tools then, Lindsay?
Probably not.
Get the truck all stickered up.
I'm Craftsman tool dealer Lindsay here. I got some socket wrenches for you boys. Y'all need some pliers. That'd be kind of odd, though. The Craftsman guy and the Mac guy show up on the same day.
That'd be awkward. For who would that be more awkward for? The Craftsman guy?
I don't know. Oh, there you go. You got you
Anthony with a $2 super chat. Thank you.
We need Boo to have we just need to pay him royalties off each time we have him do the boom, 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 boom. Just have a Boo where every time somebody super chats you, just play that.
Something.
You know what I'm talking about, Lindsay?
Yeah, I do.
We'll have to talk to him.
Something.
Let's see.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you. And then Ed says the Makina's made in the U.S., depending on the tool. Chef Shade Tree just made it in. Good evening. Good to see you. Glad you're here.
Come on, Scott. How you doing?
Then Justin says he's never used Makita, only Bosch back in the day. DeWalt, Black & Decker. Yeah, and then Milwaukee, too. Bosch has always been good, I thought. I own a few of their tools myself, but, man, I know a lot of other guys who own Bosch. I don't know why they never seem to strike the same vein as companies like DeWalt, Makita, and Milwaukee, but I thought that they had rather good quality tools. And Howie says that Craftsman will never be the same. All the old tooling's been sold off. Most of the original designers are dead. I'm always worried about that same kind of thing, that the people who made it great are gone. It's now just another one of the dozens of brands that Stanley owns. I don't know what level of interest they would have in restoring any greatness to it. I hope I'm wrong about that. I'd love to see it come back, because I don't think it would take a whole lot to win people back to the name if they can bring back some good quality.
If they stick "Made in the USA" on it, and they're like, "Craftsman's made in the USA," they sponsor NASCAR. We'll have every guy between the ages of 46 and 64 sprinting to go buy Craftsman. Harbor Freight, hell, I shop at Craftsman.
As long as it's good, as long as it's high quality, then yeah.
All right, here we go. Here's a question: has it ever crossed your minds to try a different trade? Robert, go.
Oh yeah, every day. Just about every day. Now, I really like what I do. I don't have too many complaints. I mean, I complain often, but none of it's worth quitting this trade. I've got way too much money invested in this. If I were to quit this trade, I don't know what I'd do. The only thing I think, if I were to leave this trade, I'd go drive a truck for Lindsay, selling tools. I'd start off by selling mine
Slinging
first,
that chrome crack,
his. Huh?
Slinging that chrome crack, huh?
That's right. Hey, I can do it. Probably.
I gotta shut my door. I can hear you talking at me twice. Well, my porn career never really took off, but I'll go back and I'd like to give that another try at least.
That might be another exception. Yeah. I had a shot. Bobby the Pirate back in action.
Yep. Gar.
Actually, remember, you remember what my porn name would be?
Well, your porn name.
All right.
Your first name. Your first name is the name of your first pet, and your last name is the name of the street you grew up on. What's your porn name?
Curly good to you.
Oh, now that's a question we should open to the chat. Everybody on the chat, weigh in with your porn name. Your first name is the name of your first pet, and your last name is the name of the street you grew up on. Everyone,
all right, Lindsay, give it yours. What's your porn name there?
Keezer Marlboro.
Oh my God! I mean, like you're starring in a '70s porn.
Keezer Marlboro.
You're in that full bush porn, though. You know what I mean?
I know, with the big mustache. Yeah, oh yeah, it's all that.
I was talking about her. Max Pine Street, Molly Akers. I like Molly Akers. Hose Beast. Psycho Madison. These Psycho Madison. Kitty Fair.
Oh man.
Lane. Upper St. Louis. I mean, like, these are not bad. Milo Edge.
Oh man.
What do you think, Curly? Are these worthwhile here?
Oh.
I still think I got a lot of these beat.
You got a good one. There's no doubt about it.
Here we go with porn names, and Justin's got to weigh in with like a real statement. Okay, Justin, thank you. I appreciate it.
At least somebody's willing to keep it on track here. Thank you, Justin.
Someone's got to keep us in line.
Someone's got to do it. Jeez.
Got to hold it between the lines there, fellas.
He knows how to step up. I like it.
Man, I just can't get over some of these names are just too good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite other than the Curly Fitzy, Robert?
Let me look. Kitty Fair. Bad one.
Kitty Fair.
Kitty Fair's pretty good.
Bam Bam Oak. Max Pinecrest.
Come on. Man, we gotta have a legit contest some night with this. I don't know.
Okay, so mine's gonna be mine is Pepper Lock. So
that's it, but this one Bocce's killing me. I mean, that's just, how is that not the greatest porn name of all time? I mean, I don't know. That's just
Bam Bam Oak.
Bam Bam, that's very good too. Gosh. Max Pinecrest.
Skipper 51.
I'm sorry. Sassy Atlantic.
Sassy Atlantic.
These things just write themselves. I'm shit you not.
Oh,
Kodiuma.
God. These are fantastic.
Oh man. Psycho Madison, the hooker of the tool community.
That's just it works at every level. It works at every level. Oh, that's too good.
Oh man. Psycho Madison.
Seems to be a lot of interest. We've sparked the interest of the viewers now.
Clearly.
I mean, Bocce definitely, she's leading with her
she's
for
leading.
sure. Very, very good close seconds, but she's definitely Psycho Madison, the hooker of the tool community. So Robert's probably like hooker. She's not like
she does crocheting.
Like, she crochets. They call them hookers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
She's not an actual. Well, I mean, she is an actual hooker, but she's not like a streetwalker.
She's not hooking on the street. Gotcha.
No.
I mean, Bocce, we're assuming that we don't know that for a fact. I mean,
hey, I'm not here to judge.
Yeah,
right. And if you are, hey, that's your thing.
Hey, if hooking pays good, let me know if there's an opening.
I mean, it might be one of those. It might be one of those professions that you try to do besides the one that you're in, like we talked about before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Reminds me of those sling commercials. You know what I'm talking about? The ones where they're like, we do it on the couch. We do it while we're watching the dishes.
Oh, I know you're talking the Sling TV or whatever.
Yeah, Sling TV.
Yeah. Like it's just.
So I think there'd be, getting back to what I talked about before, a ton of cool topics to talk about. So stuff that's in the works.
We're just gonna do a night of porn names one night and just be like, hey, let's see if we can get 500 different porn names in the stream one night. Can't be the same person. It's gotta be different people every time.
Whatever pays the tool bill, right? Yep.
Right. Tool bills are, they're only getting more expensive now. Well, some things have been coming down in price. I've been happy to see, but
like what?
Oh, I'll show you.
Beef jerky come down in price, Lindsay?
No, not beef jerky. This is, I don't know what this is. I get this flyer. They don't give me enough to distribute to anybody, so I don't really know. Maybe Mark, if he's still on from Mid-Atlantic Tools, knows what this is. It's like this big flyer. It's a few pages. It's not the monthly supplement, and it's not our big quarterly one. But all right, don't look at the hydraulic jacks because they're only going up in price. But I was bummed out for a while that the ISN is a company that I buy these adjustable work tables. Well, I used to buy them from these guys. Their pricing went up to like $225, and then I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy them from these guys anymore. And then they dropped the price down to like $219, and I'm like, no, still not going to do it. And then my rep called me. He says, I know you used to buy a lot of these. I said, well, they're too expensive. I said, I'm buying them from Medco because they're, what? She goes, well, if you retail them for $199. I said, but I can. I said, now you're just cutting my profit margin down. I said, I can get them from Medco, sell them for $180 and get my full profit. Why wouldn't I do that? So, but they're at least coming down in price. I'm still not going to buy them from them, but it's going in the right direction. And then they have this Bluetooth speaker, which it's pretty popular, and it does sound very good. I don't know who makes the speaker, this one here, but every time I put them on the truck, they've sold. But their price on these went up to like over $230, and then I stopped selling because there's no way I'm going to put them on a truck for that kind of money. Now they're back at a rather reasonable, whatever that is, 159. Yeah, 159, which is actually $20 less than I think when they first came out with them, and they would sell okay at 180. So I'll put them back on the truck now because the price came down. So stuff's, not across the board, but at least we're seeing improvements in some areas. I've noticed that like the Nipex pliers have come down. Their new twin grip pliers that are popular are $50. I think for a pair of Nipex, that's pretty good. So there's some things where I've been seeing some encouragement anyway. And diesel, I paid the least for diesel I ever paid this week, $4.59 a gallon.
Start.
And JWC Tech says you got a Sunex work table. That is the same one, I believe. I think, and maybe Mark can check me on this. I think Sunex makes those tables for everybody. I'm not sure, but they're all pretty much similar, I think. And Mark says he sells the Tech Life Bluetooth speakers. I know they solicited me to sign on board with them. I don't know. It's one of these things where I really like to get my hands on some stuff and listen to it first and see what it's like. I know they had a thing where they'd send me one if I bought like 5 of them or something like that. I can't remember what the deal was, but I had to commit to buying some stuff without actually having bought anything yet. Well, actually having tested it yet. So I was kind of iffy on that. Looks like Anthony's a sucker for the sunflower seeds. I sell a lot of bags of trail mix, and they have sunflower kernels in them. I know they're not quite the same. They're not nearly as fun as breaking seeds apart, but they taste pretty good.
Boy, our tool guy would sell, monsters would be okay.
Oh,
There was a time where he did that.
All right, hold on. I don't want to say this too loud because I don't want my wife to hear me because I'm throwing her under the bus. The cooler that I use to put the drinks in on the truck is kind of buried in the back of the garage. And she said, I'll get it out and clean it up so you can put it back in the truck. I've got a case of Monster Energy drinks and a case of water. But she hasn't taken the cooler out of the garage and cleaned it off yet. So it still sits there. I guess I should do it now. Okay, I'm done.
We go to your website, we can leave a message or email.
Do it for us.
You can leave a message on my website. Yep, there's a little message thing there. Oh, okay, so Sunex does make all the tables. I thought so, yeah. And JWC Tech paid $35 for his Nipex twin grips when they first came out. They were my favorites until Snap-on dropped the new needle nose slip joints. Yeah, they did. And I think that's an exclusive to them. I don't see that design anywhere else. So I think they nailed a really good design with that.
That is an awesome set of pliers.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yep. They look great in my drawer.
I'm putting mine to use, Cass. My tools aren't for sale.
Mine are for show.
Justin bought a bump box 2 months ago. I think they got good quality offerings. I signed on to be a dealer with them and buy direct, but their buy-in is very high. I have to buy, I think, $2,000 worth of product for them. Which, I think I had to buy what is it now? I forget. It wasn't $2,000. It was like some minimum number of units I had to buy, and it was kind of high. And if all I were selling was audio equipment, it would make all the sense in the world for them. But since I don't, I couldn't. I didn't really want to put the money into buying into their dealership program. But I do like their products. I think that they sound very good, and they didn't seem to be too expensive. The Mall Runner asks, "Is it just me, or have y'all tool truck guys stop talking to you after you paid off your debt?" I spent probably 10 grand on my Cornwall guy, and he stopped talking to me after 2 weeks of no purchases. I certainly wouldn't stop talking to you if you paid off your debt. To me, that's ideal. I want people to pay off their debts. That means they get all my money. Um, I know some tool guys feel weird about that, and it goes both ways. Some customers feel weird about it too. Some customers feel compelled to buy something if they don't have a balance or if their balance is getting low, just to make sure the tool guy comes back. But if business is good, the tool guy should be back. And if he's not, then he's not a really good businessman, because you want to go where the business is good and where your customers are good. I feel the opposite about people paying off their debts. I'm happy when they do it because it means that they were true to their obligation to me, and I know that the way buying cycles work, a lot of people will buy something, then they'll pay it down. Maybe they'll wait a few weeks and they'll buy something else, they'll pay it down, and that happens a lot. And you have to be patient for that process, because if you're in this business long term, then you're not going to feel weird when somebody pays off a balance. You should feel good that they did it and look forward to more business from them if you're the tool guy.
I don't know. We had a Cornwall guy and a Matco guy for a short period. Cornwall guy was all right, kind of. He didn't have any experience, but bought some tools from him. It was really strange. Whenever I had cash, he had these really weird deals, like unheard of. He's like, "Oh, you have cash? Well, let me just delete these from inventory." So, I did come out to the fit shop one day with a good amount of Cornwall tools, and Cass could not believe the price I got. And then I quit spending money. No one else spent money. He quit showing up. Well,
I mean, it sends a clear message if no one buys anything from the tool guy ever, right? They're not interested in buying. They don't want you around, whatever it is. And that's one thing. But if people are normally pretty good customers, sometimes they're just in a down cycle of buying stuff, and you got to realize you're not the only tool truck they see. So if people want to, keep an eye on their own personal finances, not get too into debt, and they've got an account on the Matco, Cornwell, and Snap-on trucks, and I'm the guy that they don't have money out with at the time, okay, that'll probably come around again. I know that, because they'll get stuff paid down and maybe buy something from me, and that's fair. And you have to be able to be patient, and not everyone is. They did get really antsy if guys don't have balances. What else is going on in the chat here?
Well, David is looking for a good battery maintainer.
Yeah, what do you guys use?
We got the Core, I don't know. It's a Mac branded, but it's not made by Mac. It's something else. We got GR8 at the shop. That's pretty good. And then Travis and I have a couple of battery maintainers, but I don't remember what the brands are, but they're both decent. So,
yeah, Schumacher and
God, you're speaking
Associated manufacturer the maintainers from Mac, I think.
I think this was Chlor.
I know they make the jump boxes.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. It works good though. We use it a lot. You can use it for all kinds of stuff, but we have two smaller battery maintainers. I'm running a little low on eyeballs right now. My eyeballs are getting kind of heavy.
Yeah, we hit the 3-hour mark. We did hit the 3-hour mark, so why don't we call it for the night?
Round of applause.
Bravo to Robert and Cass, and bravo to everyone on the chat. Thank you so much. It was a lot of good conversation, ton of fun, and I'm glad everyone participated. Yep. All right, so let's go around the horn, and Robert, if you want to wrap it up, close it out, say your goodbyes.
Yeah, so I appreciate everybody tolerating my presence this evening. hopefully at least a few things I said were worth it. And thanks to this dating site that keeps popping up in the chat. Man, awesome. So it was fun, and I enjoyed answering questions, and getting to see some of the ridiculous stuff y'all type and ask. And the porn names were solid, so can't complain. But appreciate it, everyone.
Cass, over to you. Channeling Johnny Cash. Cass Nichols, ladies and gentlemen. My thanks to Robert and Cass for joining the fun tonight and giving us all their knowledge and expertise and opinions. And thank you all on the chat for doing the same. It's stuff like this that makes the channel a ton of fun. It's why I love doing the live chats like this, because it gives everyone a chance to chime in and let their opinions be known. And hopefully we can all learn a little bit from each other. And we're going to do more of these in the future. We're going to just carve out some topics and get some folks lined up to come on board the panels and be part of the fun. So thank you all very much. And thank you for the super chats as well. I deeply appreciate that. So keep watching the channel. I'm going to have a new Tools in the Hall video coming up on Sunday. And there'll be a ton of stuff coming because as someone asked me earlier, I got a bunch of stuff sitting behind me on the floor that I got to go through and shoot videos on that, and some air tool repair videos and all the fun stuff that hopefully keeps you coming back and watching. So I thank you all very much. Everyone have a great night. And remember, use a tool. Don't be one.